Chapter 1666. The Saints' World. The eyes of all the Origin Realm experts from the world of Forsaken Saints narrowed as soon as they heard that Fairy Hao Yu was the reincarnation of a great expert from the Saints' World. Their faces all changed, while Xiong Zhong, who had been displeased with her, no longer dared to say anything more. Shen Jian's gaze towards the bright moon divine hall changed as well. He could guess from the way Fairy Hao Yu spoke that she was probably quite a powerful expert in the Saints' World in the past, or she would not have been able to talk like that. After the minor incident, no one retorted Fairy Hao Yu's words anymore. The Origin Realm experts of both worlds who planned on going to the Saints' World all entered the bright moon divine hall. Even Xiong Zhong and Shengguan Mu'er, who were both at Reciprocity, did not stay outside, which only left Jian Chen and Shen Jian outside. There were quite a few Origin Realm experts from the world of Forsaken Saints, but there were not many who chose to go to the Saints' World. Aside from Xiong Zhong, there were only 4 other Returnance Elders. The other Receival experts all decided to stay behind. Since we're all prepared, let's set off, Fairy Hao Yu's voice rang out. She was clearly rather eager. She was extremely worried about her father's safety, so she wanted to return to the Saints' World as soon as possible. Wait, Jian Chen suddenly said, before taking out the Radiant Saint artifact. He removed Kai Ya's crystal casket from it, and to no surprise, a fist-sized beast lay on the casket. Fairy Hao Yu, please take my friend with you. She should be safer with you than me, said Jian Chen. The appearance of the crystal casket immediately attracted the attention of all the Origin Realm experts present. However, they were not looking at the casket, but the fist-sized beast that was laying on it. They all shivered inside because they could sense the powerful presence of an Origin Realm expert from the beast. Jian Chen did not leave the crystal casket in the artifact space, mainly because of the 7-colored heaven-devouring beast. It had already reached the Origin Realm, so it would destroy the artifact space just from the slightest carelessness. Jian Chen did not dare to place Kai Ya and the 7-colored heaven-devouring beast in the Anata Tower either, as he would never reveal the Anata Tower after going to the Saints' World. After all, he had not fully refined the Anata Tower yet. Once he exposed it in the Saints' World, supreme experts might end up sensing the tower's presence. After waving goodbye to everyone, Jian Chen flew away from the Tianyuan continent with Shen Jian. He charged towards the spatial tunnel leading to the Saints' World, while the bright moon divine hall followed behind them. Yu Yu and Bai Lian waved goodbye on the Tianyuan continent sorrowfully. They were too weak, so they did not go to the higher world with Jian Chen. To another side, Qin Qin, Xiao Qian, and Xiao Yu stood together. Qin Qin watched Jian Chen gradually disappear gloomily. Master Jian Chen, farewell. I'll probably never see you again from today onwards, thought Qin Qin. Tears rolled down her cheeks uncontrollably as her heart experienced unprecedented pain. You have to be careful in the tunnel. You can't be careless at all. Jian Chen, you will protect my bright moon divine hall. If we encounter any dangers along the way, I'll warn you, Fairy Hao Yu's voice rang out from behind. After that, the bright moon divine hall immediately shrank to the size of a fist, which Jian Chen then grabbed in his hand. Zi Ying, Qing Su-a, I'm going to the Saints' World. Things can only be difficult for you for now, Jian Chen said to the sword spirits. Then he placed his hand gently on the twin swords. With a flash of light, the swords vanished, having merged into Jian Chen's palm. They remained in his dantian. Jian Chen already had the ability to store the twin swords in his body for quite some time now. Except leaving the swords in contact with the world allowed them to absorb the yin and yang energies in the world, which was beneficial to their recovery. However, he could no longer afford to keep them exposed now that he was going to the Saints' World. Jian Chen carried the bright moon divine hall in his left hand as he traveled alongside Shen Jian. They entered the tunnel together, leaving their original worlds. The tunnel to the Saints' World was not composed of chaos but balls of multicolored hues. They formed long streaks of multicolored streams, filling every corner of the tunnel. At the same time, an extremely tremendous pressure crushed in from all directions. The pressure was so great that it could kill Saint Emperors. Only Origin Realm experts could withstand it. Jian Chen and Shen Jian endured the pressure easily, carefully making their way through the spatial tunnel. They looked around out of curiosity. When Jian Chen saw the multicolored hues that filled the tunnel, he immediately saw his landscape changing, varying between light and dark. Through the hues, he seemed to see worlds flash by blurrily. Each world was different. Each world possessed its own systems and cultures. Sometimes, he could even see the battle between experts of various levels in the worlds. Some were powerful while others were weak. They could be as weak as sainthood experts, or even mortal realm experts, but he would also see battles between origin realm experts as well. However, the images were extremely blurry and changed exceptionally quickly. Each image would appear and disappear in a split second, making it impossible to discern whether they were actually real or not. What you see is all true because we're currently moving through space at an unbelievable speed. Every world we pass by projects a shadow. Fairy Haoyu's voice rang out in Jian Chen's head. Jian Chen was secretly shocked when he heard that. He had already seen the images of countless worlds. If each image represented an entire world, he truly had no idea just how many he had already passed. Although I already knew that there were extremely many lower worlds, now that I've truly witnessed how many there are, it's just indescribable. The Tianyuan continent I stayed on in the past is only one of the images among all of these, Jian Chen thought. Jian Chen and Shenzhen completely lost the notion of time as they moved through the tunnel. They had no idea just how long they had been traveling for. Along the way, they would come across chaotic spatial streams, but they would avoid it safely. Finally, they saw the exit of the tunnel. There were barren plains, stretching as far as the eye could see. Apart from some huge birds that shot through the sky with lightning speed, there was not a single living thing to be seen. But at this moment, the space in the skies suddenly distorted violently. A huge space gate suddenly appeared, and two figures fell out from it, hitting the land heavily and kicking up a cloud of dust. Chapter 1667. The first encounter with godhood. The two people who fell out of the space gate were Jian Chen and Shenzhen. As the gravitational force and density of space were much greater than the Tianyuan continent they were on before, they immediately felt like an extraordinarily heavy mountain had crashed down on them as soon as they emerged from the tunnel. It pushed them heavily into the floor as they were unprepared. Jian Chen stood up with a perfect flip. He brushed off the dust and soil on him while observing the foreign world. He could sense extremely powerful laws of the world in this world, which filled every inch of the surroundings. The origin energy here was so dense that it had exceeded anything Jian Chen could imagine. He would basically absorb a large quantity of it without any difficulty at all with every single breath. Compared to here, the world of Forsaken Saints seemed like a remote, lackluster village. Aside from this, what Jian Chen felt the most clearly was the increased gravity. It was more than a dozen times more powerful than on the Tianyuan continent, while the density of space had reached a stunning level as well. If the space of the Tianyuan continent and the world of Forsaken Saints were a thin layer of paper, space here would be like a steel plate. No, even describing it as a steel plate would be undermining the toughness of space here. It was many times tougher than steel. Is this the Saints' world? Jian Chen looked around and said excitedly. The abundance of origin energy in this world gave him hopes of breaking through with his chaotic body. The laws of the world are so powerful, origin energy is so dense, and even the gravity in space is so strong. This should be the Saints' world, Shenzhen said as he brushed off the dust on him. He raised his head to look around, and he too was excited. Let's find a remote place to enter seclusion fist. I need to break through to godhood as soon as possible. Only then will we have a better chance of surviving here, Shenzhen added. His strength had already reached the limits of reciprocity in the lower world. He had also comprehended the laws of the world, having been in possession of the key to godhood since quite some time ago. However, the laws of the world in the lower world prevented people from reaching godhood, so he immediately became quite eager to break through after arriving in the Saints' world. Sure, I can use that time to gain an even deeper understanding of the Saints' world from Fairy Haoyu, said Jian Chen. Then he started to fly away from their current location. With the increased gravitational force and density of space in the Saints' world, Jian Chen and Shenzhen's speed was significantly affected as a result. They could no longer cross millions or even tens of millions kilometers with a single step like before. Aside from that, their consumption of energy was several times more rapid as they flew, while the radius their souls could envelope was restricted as well. Jianchen, I need to absorb origin energy to recover my body, so I won't be able to help you to do anything aside from informing you about the Saints' world. If you come across any enemies, you'll have to handle them yourself. Please remember to keep my divine hall safe. My divine hall had some uses on the Tianyuan continent, but in here, probably any reciprocity expert could smash through it. Fairy Hao Yu's voice rang out in Jian Chen's head. Fairy Hao Yu, please don't worry. As long as I'm alive, I'll protect your divine hall with my life. I have quite a few people in there as well after all, smiled Jian Chen. With the strength of you and Xinjian, you'll still be able to protect yourself against any godhood enemies. But your friends will be completely helpless against them, so for their safety, just let them stay in my divine hall for now, Fairy Hao Yu said. Jian Chen and Xinjian had no objections to such a suggestion, so they agreed happily. Jian Chen and Xinjian flew through the barren plains at a steady pace, searching for a suitable place to enter secluded cultivation so Xinjian could break through. There is people up ahead. Suddenly, Jian Chen's eyes narrowed. Very far ahead from them, a small group composed of a little over 10 people had appeared. 1 reciprocity, 2 returnants, and 4 receival. The rest are all Saint Emperors, Xinjian said calmly. A gleam of light flashed through his eyes, and he continued, they are the first cultivators we've seen on these plains after flying for half a day. Let's go ask them some things so we can understand the situation around here. Jian Chen nodded and changed direction with Xinjian, directly flying towards the group of people. The group clearly noticed the two of them as well, so they became cautious. However, at this moment, Jian Chen's face changed. He came to a halt and said in a gruff voice, "Wait, there's a godhood expert hurrying over here." With that, Xinjian sensed a powerful presence approach the area at a rapid pace. His face also changed. He stood beside Jian Chen cautiously. A few seconds later, a red figure shot over like a comet. He flew over from afar extremely quickly and seemed to be in a great hurry as if he was fleeing for his life. With his approach, a powerful pressure flooded the surroundings, as well as a powerful pulse of energy that was enough to cause the expressions of Jian Chen and Xinjian to change. The figure did not seem to be hurrying towards Jian Chen and the small group before. He only seemed to be passing by and came across them coincidentally. However, when the fire-red figure discovered that there were other people up ahead, he suddenly changed directions and directly flew towards the small group of people. In the blink of an eye, he arrived before them. Flames roared around him as he hovered in the sky, looking just like a god of fire. However, his vicious wounds were clearly visible through the roaring flames, as well as his pale face and the residual blood at the corner of his lips. He was evidently injured. Be careful. That person's a late deity, Fairy Hao Yu's voice rang out sternly. If she still possessed her strength from before, someone like that would only be as insignificant as an ant. However, she had to treat him cautiously now. Jian Chen and Xinjian looked at each other. They had never thought that they would come across a godhood expert as soon as they arrived in the Saints' world, and they would be so strong. You've appeared at the perfect time. You can help me heal. Undying body of flames. Suddenly, the fire-red figure bellowed out, and the flames around him surged, turning into a sea of fire that engulfed the small group up ahead. Facing the attack of the godhood expert, in particular, a late deity, it was impossible for the small group to resist. They could not even flee, so they were directly swallowed up by the sea fire and instantly vaporize. As they died, the fire devoured a portion of their life force and origin energy, becoming a part of the energy that healed the man. When the sea of fire vanished, the presence he gave off had palpably become much stronger. Jian Chen and Xinjian became grim. They looked at each other and could sense that the situation was not great. As expected, the man surrounded in flames arrived before Jian Chen and Xinjian after killing off the small group. Chapter 1668, Deity Lu Fei. It's actually a late reciprocity cultivator. Judging from your presence, you should have reached the limits of late reciprocity, but you haven't comprehended the laws of the world yet, so you're stuck at reciprocity. If you didn't appear here today and met me, you might be able to reach godhood one day in the future, but it's a pity that you'll never have that opportunity ever again. Become the nourishment to heal me. Remember my name, the name of the person who will take your lives, Lu Fei. The man in flames smiled viciously. He looked at Jian Chen and Shen Jian like they were already dead. Lu Fei, do you really think that you can handle us? We have no intentions of being your enemy, but if you insist, you can't blame us for being merciless, Jian Chen said coldly. Although he was grim, he showed no fear or fluster at all. Lu Fei's eyes narrowed, and he glared at Jian Chen. He sneered, "You sure do talk big. Although I can't see your exact cultivation level, I can blurrily sense that you should be at reciprocity. Even if I'm wrong and you possess strength at godhood, you still can't change the situation." With that, killing intent exploded in Lu Fei's eyes. With a bellow, he used his undying body of flames again, and the flames on him immediately surged, rolling towards Jian Chen and Shen Jian as a sea of fire. A gleam of light flashed through Shen Jian and Jian Chen's eyes. With the crisp thrum of a sword, a dark sword appeared in Shen Jian's hand silently. He fused with the sword, charging into the sea of flames as a resplendent streak of light, killing his way towards Lu Fei as if he were unstoppable. Jian Chen's gaze sharpened as if he had become a drawn sword, filled with sharpness. At that moment, he seemed to have become a sword himself, even though there was not one in his hands. His fingers swept past the space before him gently, and an invisible sword chi immediately split the sea of flames that surged over rapidly. Shen Jian had fused with the sword, becoming an extremely powerful and resplendent streak of light. He flew along the path that Jian Chen had opened up as his cloudstream sword directly stabbed towards Lu Fei's forehead with a dazzling glow. "You've actually comprehended the laws. I've underestimated you." Lu Fei's eyes narrowed, and he immediately became rather stern. He clenched his hand, and the sea of flames in the surroundings surged, forming a palm of fire instantly. Not only did the palm of fire give off a powerful pulse of energy enough to surprise Jian Chen and Shen Jian, but it also grabbed Shen Jian's sword with a sliver of the laws of fire. "You've reached the limits of reciprocity and comprehended the laws of the world. If you had some more time, you would be able to reach godhood at any time, but it's just a pity that you'll never get that opportunity again. Even if you ignore the difference in cultivation, the difference between our comprehension is insurmountable as well," Lu Fei sighed gently. He looked at Shen Jian and Jian Chen in pity, but the pity quickly transformed into a cold killing intent. To him, both Jian Chen and Shen Jian would become nourishment to heal his wounds. Lu Fei extended a finger gently and a red light shot from its tip. It traveled towards the center of Shen Jian's forehead with the laws of fire. "Form breaker." Suddenly, Shen Jian bellowed out, and the cloudstream sword immediately exploded with light. He slashed towards the beam of light. The attack contained a mysterious power that could destroy everything in the world, specifically targeting anything with a form. As he slashed out, Lu Fei's palm of fire was immediately cut in half. The laws of fire in the palm clashed with Shen Jian's laws of the sword and was actually suppressed, limiting the strength it could display. Afterwards, the cloudstream sword became a blur and stabbed the beam of red light containing the laws of fire. With a boom, the red light immediately shattered, expanding into the surroundings as powerful ripples of energy. The ripples of energy blew Shen Jian backwards. Although he possessed battle prowess at godhood, he was still a long way away from Lu Fei in terms of cultivation. On the other hand, Lu Fei paid no attention to the ripple of energy. The energy struck his body and failed to move him at all. He stared fixedly at Shen Jian as disbelief flooded his face. "Your comprehension of laws is actually greater than mine." "Impossible, this is impossible," Lu Fei cried out as his heart began to surge. He was a late deity and was quite close to becoming a god, yet someone who had not even reached godhood had actually surpassed his comprehension in terms of laws. He struggled to accept this. But at this moment, a feeling of coldness suddenly rose up in Lu Fei's heart. He saw Jian Chen arrived before him with lightning speed. His fingers formed a sword, emitting a beam of light that was just as long as a standard sword from his fingers. He stabbed it coldly and mercilessly towards Lu Fei. Lu Fei's face changed. He had not sensed any power from Jian Chen, as Jian Chen had never moved against him. Only after they began fighting did he discover in shock that Jian Chen was actually much more powerful than Shen Jian. He felt a strong sense of threat from Jian Chen's attack. Lu Fei finally became grim. No longer willing to be careless, he struck out as hard as he could. A fire-red sword appeared in his hand and his laws of fire condensed. He stabbed out with all his strength. The sword Qi Jian Chen condensed collided with Lu Fei's sword. Sword Qi and sparks shot off in all directions. Lu Fei's laws of fire and Jian Chen's laws of the sword collided, and the laws of fire became suppressed. They dispersed rapidly. He was not Jian Chen's opponent in terms of comprehension. Impossible. How can your laws be stronger as well? It's also greater than mine. Who are the two of you? Lu Fei was shocked. He had lost all composure. He had never thought that he would come across two people so powerful on these simple planes. Their cultivation was clearly not very great, but their comprehension of laws was frightening. Even he, a late deity, could not rival them. Jian Chen did not respond. His gaze remained cold, and he stabbed out a second time at extremely fast speed. The sword Qi had already arrived before Lu Fei, directly targeting Lu Fei's forehead. Lu Fei shot backwards and swiveled his head to the side, barely dodging the fatal attack. However, the sword Qi had cut off some of his hair. Apart from shock, his gaze towards Jian Chen and Shun Jian now possessed a certain coldness. Then he formed a series of hand seals, and the origin energy in the surroundings immediately surged over, condensing into a sword of fire that was 300 meters long. It dyed the surroundings red, and clouds of fire seemed to condense high in the air. Since I can't directly devour you, I'll kill you and devour you afterwards. Once I devour the two of you, I should be able to recover by quite a lot. Truth Tear Battle Skill, Python Sword of Scarlet Flames. Lu Fei bellowed out, and the sword Qi above him immediately turned into a streak of red light, shooting towards Jian Chen. The tip of the sword Qi had turned into the vicious head of a snake. At that moment, Jian Chen had actually forced Lu Fei to use a battle skill as a powerful late deity. The battle skill was extremely powerful, having reached the same level as the immortal tier from the immortal's world. It made Jian Chen turn grim. Daluo sword. Jian Chen bellowed out and formed a seal with his hands. He shone with golden light, and a golden sword Qi condensed from nowhere. It shot towards Lu Fei's Truth Tear battle skill. With the increase in Jian Chen's chaotic body, the Daluo sword he used right now was much more powerful than when he used it on the Tianyuan continent. He had used an immortal tier sword technique to deal with Lu Fei's battle skill that was at a corresponding level in the Saint's world, the Truth Tier. With a boom, the Daluo sword collided viciously with the Python Sword of Scarlet Flames. The golden and red light interweaved, creating a resplendent display of light. Lu Fei's Truth Tier battle skill began to disperse, while Jian Chen's Daluo sword was reduced to half a meter in length. It shot across the sky as a golden streak of light and penetrated Lu Fei's chest under his gaze of disbelief. Lu Fei's body shuddered, and blood spurted from his mouth. He staggered a few dozen meters backwards before stabilizing himself. With a flash of black, Shen Jian's Cloudstream sword shot over as well, slashing across Lu Fei's neck. It almost beheaded Lu Fei. Lu Fei became even paler, and the flame around him dulled in color. Not only did he fail to devour Jian Chen and Shen Jian to recover, but he had also sustained heavy wounds in their battle. He had bitten off more than he could chew. I never thought that I'm not the opponent of the two of them. If this continues, I'll definitely be defeated. I'll struggle to flee even if the ancestor of the Lu family arrives. I have to flee. Whatever, I'll remember the two of them for now and make them pay some other day. Lu Fei no longer wanted to fight anymore. With a single moment, he turned into a blur and fled as quickly as he could. Lu Fei fled extremely quickly. Neither Jian Chen or Shun Jian could match his flying speed. After all, there was still a disparity between their cultivation levels. A gleam of light flashed through Jian Chen's eyes as he watched Lu Fei flee. He formed a seal with both hands before turning into a bolt of lightning. He pursued Lu Fei at an unbelievable speed. It was the linear lightning release. That's impossible. His speed? Lu Fei was utterly shocked when he saw Jian Chen race over like a bolt of lightning. This time, he no longer had any time to dodge. Jian Chen passed through his body with lightning speed. Jian Chen would not have been able to catch up to Lu Fei with just flight, but he also knew sword techniques. The linear lightning release was a sword technique with extraordinary speed. It could be used as both an offensive measure and a way to chase others down. Lu Fei's eyes widened, and disbelief flooded his face. However, the light in his eyes faded rapidly, and they became glassy. Afterwards, his body split into two right down the center. Not only had the bolt of lightning split his body into two when it passed through him, but it had also obliterated his soul. I never thought that I could kill a late deity so easily after my chaotic body reached the 9th layer. Not to mention, because of my chaotic Niden state, I can only use 80% of my strength. Jian Chen sighed in amazement inside as he looked at Lu Fei's corpse. He took Lu Fei's space ring and said, however, this Lu Fei was injured. If he were at his peak condition, killing him would not have been so easy. Chapter 1669. A battle against a god. Shen Jian flew over from afar and said as he stared at Lu Fei's corpse, experts really are as common as the clouds in the saints' world. Just this single person we came across accidentally was a late deity. If he progressed a little more in his cultivation, he would have become a god. I need to find a safe place to break through as soon as possible. Shen Jian became even more impatient to break through to godhood after the battle with Lu Fei. However, there was nowhere to hide from sight on the barren plains, and they would encounter people from time to time. Clearly, this was not a good place to break through. Jian Chen thought of the Aneta Tower. The Aneta Tower was damaged, but it was a good place to break through. However, Jian Chen did not dare to take it out after arriving in the saints' world as he feared that extremely powerful people would sense its presence. Let's leave here quickly. This Lu Fei seemed to be fleeing for his life earlier. With his wounds, someone must have been chasing him. We can't stay here for long, Jian Chen said to Shen Jian. He played around with the space ring that he had taken from Lu Fei before putting it away. Now was not the time to check through its contents. However, just when Jian Chen said these words, an extremely powerful presence arrived from afar. It blanketed the surroundings and surged into the sky, kicking up gales and causing the clouds to churn. The presence contained both rage and icy cold killing intent. Let's go! The expressions of Jian Chen and Shen Jian changed. Without any hesitation, they immediately flew off into the distance as fast as possible. The owner of the presence pressured them several times more than Lu Fei. He was an extremely powerful expert, having surpassed deity. Without a single thought, Jian Chen and Shen Jian were certain that he was the person pursuing Lu Fei. Lu Fei was already dead, but just in case, the two of them still chose to leave the area. A few seconds after Jian Chen and Shen Jian left the scene, a blurry, gray figure shot over from afar. He moved so quickly that he was several times faster than Lu Fei. He radiated with a powerful presence, so great that the ground beneath him sank. His icy, heavy killing intent reduced all the withered grass on the plains to dust. Very soon, the gray figure arrived before Lu Fei's corpse. Only then did his appearance become visible. He was an old man who seemed to be past his 70s. He wore gray robes, while his gray hair drifted in the wind behind. He was hawk-nosed, and his deep eyes were sharp. They shone brightly, while his face was terrifyingly sunken. The old man stared at Lu Fei's corpse for a while. When he discovered that Lu Fei's space ring had actually vanished, his gaze immediately became extremely terrifying. His killing intent rose rapidly until it peaked. It's impossible for you to steal the treasure of my Lu family. The gray-robed old man's face was extremely sunken as he spoke icily. He immediately expanded his soul and found the traces left behind by Jian Chen and Shen Jian when they fled a while ago. He immediately shot off in pursuit as a gray blur. The laws were powerful, and the space was tough in the saints' world. Let alone origin realm experts, even godhood experts with extremely great mastery over the laws of space would not be able to create a space gate. As a result, the old man could only fly despite his strength. Jian Chen and Shun Jian also discovered the old man's pursuit. The two of them were not even as fast as Lu Fei, so it was impossible for them to escape from the old man who moved several times faster than Lu Fei. They directly stopped and hovered in the sky, waiting for the old man's arrival. Very soon, the old man appeared before Jian Chen and Shun Jian. He directly stood in their way. His face was sunken and he said coldly, "Did you kill Lu Fei? We were only passing by earlier, and we came across Lu Fei accidentally. He wanted to devour the two of us. As he was injured, he failed to devour the two of us in the end and was killed instead. May I ask for your name, Senior?" Jian Chen clasped his fist and said without any particular modesty or haughtiness, "Jian Chen, this person is an early god. You have to be careful." Fairy Hao Yu's voice rang out in Jian Chen's head, causing Jian Chen to become even more stern. Although early gods were only a single cultivation level higher than late deities, the difference between the cultivation levels was extraordinarily large. Shen Jian also became extremely stern. He could tell that the old man probably would not let them go from how he behaved and reacted. They could not avoid battle. "You came across him accidentally? Haha, what a perfectly timed accident. Lu Fei is one of my Lu family's 6 great godhood experts, as well as one of my elders. It's a pity that a mysterious organization successfully bribed him, so he betrayed the family. He even obtained a powerful formation disc to trap me, and then he snuck into our forbidden grounds to take the treasure of my Lu family. Yet, when I broke free and pursued him here, he just happened to be slain by the two of you. The treasure he stole must have ended up in your hands. You described this all as an accident. Do you really think that I'm as easily tricked as a child?" The old man laughed aloud. His gaze towards Jian Chen and Shun Jian became even colder, and he roared out, "Speak, who sent you?" "Senior, Lu Fei was indeed slain by us, but we have no connections to the organization behind him at all. I've spoken the truth. Whether you believe it or not is up to you," Jian Chen said emotionlessly. He knew that the old man had already mistaken their accidental encounter with Lu Fei and Lu Fei's death. In the old man's eyes, killing Lu Fei was just an act of silencing someone. And you still want to twist the truth? As one of my grandsons, no one understands Lu Fei's strength better than me. How could he have been killed so easily by the two of you as a late deity? Not to mention, one of you is still at reciprocity. If I've guessed correctly, you two must have been sent by the organization behind Lu Fei to receive him, and they've only sent people below godhood to avoid raising attention, as well as to catch Lu Fei off guard. You then used the trump card you obtained from the organization supporting you to deal a sneak attack to Lu Fei, killing him. That way, you will succeed in both obtaining my family's treasure and silencing others. That way, you don't have to worry about me working out the organization supporting you through any remaining traces. Am I right?" The old man's voice became even more frigid. Killing intent surged from him like a flood, becoming extremely dense. The more he analyzed the situation, the more correct he felt his conjecture was. Although he had seen traces of the battle earlier, he refused to believe that Jian Chen and Shun Jian could kill Lu Fei with just their strength. Instead, he believed that it was due to a treasure they had obtained from the organization supporting them. "Speak, what is the organizations behind the two of you? I might spare your lives if you tell me, but if you don't, I can only take you back with me and torture you in all kinds of ways until you confess." The old man approached Jian Chen and Shun Jian slowly as he radiated with an extremely powerful pressure, squashing down on Jian Chen and Shun Jian. Now that the situation has developed to a point like this, there's no point in talking anymore. "Do it," Jian Chen said to Shun Jian through a communication technique. He formed a seal with his hand, and he immediately shone with golden light. A massive, golden sword chi condensed in a single moment, shooting towards the old man. Jian Chen did not dare to hold back at all against a god. He used his full strength right from the start, using the immortal tear sword technique, the Daluo sword. Chapter 1670, Corruption. At the same time, Shun Jian's presence changed abruptly. His hair danced and his clothes ruffled despite the absence of wind. He radiated with an extremely powerful sword chi. As he slowly raised the Cloudstream sword in his hand, he immediately began to glimmer with starlight. At that moment, the space around the Cloudstream sword seemed to have transformed into an endless starry sky. A will that splits the heavens, the sword shakes and stars shatter. Shen Jian suddenly bellowed out. The Cloudstream sword was swung forwards as it shook violently. As the sword moved, a visible ripple rushed towards the gray-robed old man destructively. It moved extremely quickly. Wherever the ripple passed by, the ground cracked, and dust was kicked into the air. The dead grass all turned to powder. A will that splits the heavens was the strongest sword technique Shen Jian had learned so far. The attack possessed the power to destroy planets in the lower world. However, everything in the Saint's world was much tougher than the Tianyuan continent, so his devastating sword technique failed to cause a lot of severe damage in the Saint's world. So the two of you have comprehended laws. I've underestimated you before, but now you're done for. The gray-robed old man was at ease and did not treat Jian Chen and Shen Jian with any caution at all. With a wave of his sleeve, the origin energy in the surroundings immediately began to surge, instantly condensing into two powerful strands of sword qi. They shot towards Jian Chen and Shen Jian respectively with roaring flames. Boom! Jian Chen's Daluo sword was directly dispersed by the old man's sword qi, erupting with powerful ripples of energy. It knocked Jian Chen back in a constant retreat. At the same time, the ripples from Shen Jian's attack came in contact with the old man's sword qi. The ripples immediately began to distort violently, before dispersing at a rapid rate. The old man had nullified the terrifying ripples that could easily destroy planets in a lower world just like that. At the same time, after tearing through the ripples, the old man's sword qi did not disperse. It only became much weaker than before. It then continued without slowing down at all, traveling towards Shen Jian as a streak of red light. Form breaker. Shen Jian became extremely stern. After bellowing out, the Cloudstream sword shone with dazzling white light, landing on the sword qi as a blur. Boom! The old man's sword qi finally dispersed, exploding mid-air as scarlet flames. Meanwhile, Shen Jian was blown backwards as blood spurted from his mouth. The difference in their strength was just too significant. One was at the peak of reciprocity, while the other was a god. Even with Shen Jian's extraordinary talent, he was unable to make up for this gaping disparity. Jian Chen was in no position to care for Shen Jian. He became unprecedentedly stern, and he maintained a hand seal. A golden sword qi immediately condensed, and he continued his attack against the old man with the Daluo sword. At the same time, his other hand did not just sit around idly either. It also formed a hand seal. You better use all your trump cards. Just this isn't enough to threaten me, the old man said coldly. With a wave of his sleeve, he destroyed Jian Chen's Daluo sword without any effort at all. It was also at this moment that Jian Chen suddenly began to shine with dazzling white light. He seemed to have transformed into a bolt of light, shooting towards the old man with unbelievable speed. He arrived before the old man in a single moment. The old man's eyes narrowed abruptly. At that moment, Jian Chen had even reached speeds beyond what his eyes could see. He only managed to capture a blur with his soul. This speed, the old man was shocked. The speed Jian Chen displayed was just too fast in that moment, fast to the point where he found it to be rather unbelievable. He was still several hundred meters away one moment ago, yet he seemed to have teleported before him in the next moment. It had caught him slightly off guard. Spurt! The sword qi condensed at the tip of Jian Chen's fingers stabbed into the old man, but it was met with an extremely great resistance, preventing it from going any further. The tremendous energy in the old man's body had stopped the penetration of Jian Chen's sword qi as soon as possible. At the same time, the old man's palm landed heavily on Jian Chen's chest. Jian Chen immediately paled and a mist of blood spurted out from his mouth. He shot backwards like a broken kite. The old man's attack had reduced his clothes to dust. However, Jian Chen did not weaken at all after being injured. Instead, his battle intent became even more substantial. There was a vague craziness within his sharp eyes. As his hand seals changed, he suddenly came to a halt. At that moment, all the energy within him was pushed to the maximum, and the laws of the sword condensed around him. He began to advance, using his body as a sword of laws to tear through all obstructions in the world. He charged towards the old man as if he were unstoppable. Tai sword technique. The old man's face was extremely dark. With a cold snort, a red sword appeared in his hand. The sword danced and immediately turned into dragon of flames as he charged towards Jian Chen with a bellow. The craziness in Jian Chen's eyes became even more intense, and a few specks of red light flickered. With his body as a sword, he seemed to have become a streak of light as he charged at the dragon of flames. With a boom, the dragon of flames immediately erupted, reduced to energy ripples that shook up the surroundings. Jian Chen let out a few more mouthfuls of blood, but he continued towards the old man without slowing down at all. "I sure have underestimated you," the old man said coldly. His sword trembled and he stabbed out 3 times with lightning speed. Each stab left behind a terrifying wound on Jian Chen's body. The third stab, in particular, pierced Jian Chen's right shoulder, almost chopping off his right arm altogether. Jian Chen's right hand seemed to have become a sharp sword, stabbing into the old man's chest. His fingers emerged from the old man's back, covered in the blood of a god. The old man grunted, and his gaze towards Jian Chen finally became slightly stern. Jolting his body as hard as he could, he knocked Jian Chen far away. Afterwards, he left behind an afterimage with a single movement and caught up with Jian Chen instantly. He stabbed out with lightning speed with his fire-red sword, directly towards Jian Chen's forehead. Shen Jian's face changed at the sight of that. He immediately wanted to charge over to stop the old man. However, at this moment, a presence filled with evilness and destruction erupted from Jian Chen's body. His pupils had completely become blood-red at that moment, while his head full of long hair began to redden at a visible rate as well. Jian Chen's sudden transformation caused the old man's eyes to narrow. He felt cold from the bottom of his heart due to Jian Chen's evil and destructive presence, as well as a sliver of uneasiness. Shen Jian's face changed as well, staring at Jian Chen in disbelief. He actually sensed the presence of the crisis of the world from Jian Chen. "What is this presence?" The old man was surprised, and he could not help but slow down his stab towards Jian Chen. However, before long, his gaze turned cold, and his sword immediately turned into a streak of red light, continuing along the same trajectory as before. Chapter 1671, Might of the Profound Sword Qi. At that crucial moment, 2 resplendent balls of light emerged from Jian Chen, one azure and one violet. They turned into 2 swords that shot towards the old man. Ding! The twin swords collided heavily against the old man's red sword. There was the screeching of metal as residual sword qi was sent flying off in all directions. When it struck the tough ground, it left behind deep holes. The twin swords retreated right after the clash, arriving above Jian Chen's head. Jian Chen gripped the Ziying sword, and his head full of red hair began to dance despite the lack of wind. His red pupils stared at the gray-robed old man emotionlessly. He had completely lost his mind and himself in that moment, only leaving behind an instinctive desire for destruction and slaughter. He had also gripped the Ziying sword out of instinct. Shen Jian stood from afar as he stared fixedly at Jian Chen. He became extremely stern because he could no longer sense any familiarity from Jian Chen at all. There was only a sense of unfamiliarity. He had almost thought that Jian Chen had become the crisis of the world because Jian Chen just felt too similar to the crisis of the world right now. Jian Chen. Shen Jian bellowed out thunderously in an attempt to wake Jian Chen from his corrupted state. He had already guessed that something probably went wrong when he was cultivating in the blood-red cloud. However, Jian Chen did not respond at all. It was like he did not hear Shen Jian's call at all. At the same time, the voices of the sword spirits rang out in Jian Chen's head. They were frantic as they tried to awaken him, but they also failed. Suddenly, there was a flash of red light that shot towards Jian Chen with a ball of intense flames. The old man wielded his fire-red sword, and his presence surged. He directly charged towards Jian Chen with heavy killing intent. At the same time, the corrupted Jian Chen moved as well. He turned into a red blur and began to clash with the old man. Even though Jian Chen had lost his mind after being corrupted, where only the instincts for destruction and slaughter remained, He had become even more powerful than before. Violet and azure sword Qi shook up the surrounding space within the flames, wreaking havoc in the surroundings by spreading as powerful ripples of energy. The ground sank and dust was kicked into the air, causing the region where they fought to become hazy. For that period of time, Jian Chen actually managed to fight against the early god on equal grounds, having been corrupted and using the twin swords. The great disparity in their strength had been made up all of a sudden. Jian Chen also used various sword techniques one after another. He used the Daluo sword, Tai sword technique, and linear lightning release several times. He had not regained his consciousness and instead used the sword techniques completely out of his instincts. Jian Chen and the old man became more and more injured. Both of them were covered in blood, but they fought even more intensely as time went on. However, at a closer glance, there were several times more wounds on Jian Chen than the old man. He had clearly lost the upper hand. However, the greatness of the chaotic body was fully demonstrated at that moment. Even after losing his mind, his chaotic body's superior regeneration remained, so his wounds actually healed at a visible rate. However, the rate of regeneration was nowhere as fast as the rate at which he was injured. The old man narrowed his eyes at the sight of this. He became extremely shocked. What is this cultivation method? It's so amazing. Not only can it allow deities to fight against gods, but just the regeneration is so powerful as well. If I obtained this cultivation method, thinking this, a sliver of greed immediately appeared in the old man's eyes. Although he knew that there would be downsides to the cultivation method, he could accept and work with some disadvantages, given that his strength could skyrocket. For that moment, the old man began to fight even fiercer. In just a few clashes, Jian Chen gained a few more terrifying wounds. In the end, the old man even used his hand to grab the two swords while he used a truth tier battle skill with his left hand. He created a colossal hand that pressed against Jian Chen's chest gently, but the move contained a destructive might. Truth tier battle skills used by gods possessed extraordinary power. With a heavy boom, Jian Chen's chest exploded. The terrifying power from the truth tier battle skill wreaked havoc wildly in his body. Not only did it destroy all his organs, but all his bones also turned to dust as well. He was extremely heavily injured. Jian Chen spurted blood from his mouth as he collapsed far away. His entire skeleton had been turned into dust, so he could no longer stand up. He lay on the ground powerlessly. But unexpectedly, his consciousness actually began to return gradually after suffering the extremely heavy wound. The redness in his eyes gradually vanished, and his blood-red hair began to turn black again. Very soon, Jian Chen's mind returned. He returned to normal, but when he sensed his wounds, he could not help but smile bitterly. He could not even stand. He had no idea how long it had been since he had been injured so heavily. If he did not cultivate the chaotic body, he probably would have been reduced to mincemeat the moment the old man's truth tier battle skill struck him. His soul would have been wiped out. The old man dripped with blood as he arrived before Jian Chen step by step. He reached towards Jian Chen, planning to take Jian Chen back with him to the Lu family and slowly get Jian Chen's cultivation method from him. Shen Jian gritted his teeth when he saw Jian Chen's dangerous situation. He began to cast the second move of a will that splits the heavens, regardless of the consequences. He had used the second move once against the crisis of the world. That time, he had paid an extremely heavy price to use it, but he had no other choices left in the current situation. A will that splits the heavens, you mere reciprocity cultivator, piss off. However, before Shen Jian could use the second move, the old man directly sent a sword chi towards him that pierced his body. Shen Jian was immediately knocked backwards as he vomited blood. He had become pale. The old man did not even glance at Shen Jian. His attention was completely fixated on Jian Chen. He directly reached towards Jian Chen excitedly. Just as the old man was about to grab him, a cold light suddenly flickered through Jian Chen's eyes. All of a sudden, a dazzling white light began to radiate from Jian Chen. A strand of white sword chi that was only the size of a finger had appeared above his head. It seemed tiny and underwhelming, but the wind and clouds in the surroundings immediately began to churn as soon as it appeared. The originally calm origin energy became violent at that moment as well. Wild streams of energy wreaked havoc high in the sky. Even the power of laws that was basically present everywhere became slightly disorderly. What is that? The old man's hand came to a halt. He stared at the tiny sword chi hovering quietly above Jian Chen's head. He felt a frightening power from the sword chi that was only the size of a finger. The sword chi was so great that it was enough to destroy him. Before the old man could think too much about it, the finger-sized sword chi shot towards him as a streak of white light. The moment it shot off, the air seemed to freeze and time seemed to arrive at a standstill as well. Everything in the world fell silent. Only the sword chi was present, becoming the only existence in the world as its radiance replaced the sun. It shot forwards as it destroyed any origin energy in its way and cleaved through the laws of the world. Even though the old man was a god, he was just unable to dodge the sword chi. He immediately pulled out several discs from his space ring. Each formation disc was a rather powerful defensive treasure as they enveloped him with screens of light. However, the treasures seemed to become extremely fragile when the profound sword chi struck them. They turned to dust silently, and then the profound sword chi passed through the old man's body. The old man's presence withered rapidly as blood constantly spurted from his mouth. He became sheet white. Not only did he suffer extremely heavy wounds the moment the profound sword chi passed through his body, but it had also severed a part of his vital essences, his cultivation, as well as a part of his soul. A huge, gaping hole had appeared in the old man's chest. The flesh and blood that belonged to the area had vanished entirely. It was a horrific sight. The old man stared at Jian Chen in shock. He forcefully endured the weakness he experienced as well as the stabbing pain from his soul. Without any hesitation, he took out a formation disc from his space ring and threw it at his feet. He fled with a flash of white light. He had no choice but to flee. The wounds from the profound sword chi were just too heavy. Even though he had managed to keep his life intact, he no longer had any more strength to fight. In particular, the stabbing pain from his soul even made him feel like he would faint at any time. He had become as weak as a mortal at that moment. Only death awaited him if he did not flee. Chapter 1672. Falling unconscious, Jian Chen lay on the ground powerlessly. His face was completely pale, and he was currently extremely weak. The profound sword chi was very powerful, but using it was not an easy matter for him. At that moment, he felt like all the power of his soul had been drained away. He felt a strong sense of drowsiness as well as some pain from his head. Even his consciousness had blurred. He could lose consciousness at any time. Using the profound sword chi drained the power of his soul. If he had used the profound sword chi in his peak condition, the power of his soul would not have been completely drained, but the prior battle had taken a certain toll on the power of his soul, especially since he was in a corrupted state. As a result, when he used the profound sword chi towards the end, he had almost run out of the power of his soul. Jian Chen's consciousness blurred as he stared in direction in which the old man had fled. Finally, he could no longer endure it, and darkness descended. He had fallen unconscious. To another side, Xin Jian struggled to his feet. He took out a jade bottle from his space ring and opened its lid, pouring a few recovery pills into his mouth. Then he staggered to Jian Chen's side and fed him some of the pills. Next, he carried Jian Chen and flew away in a tottering fashion. Xin Jian had no idea if any more godhood experts would come in pursuit from the Lu family. Now that Jian Chen had fallen unconscious, and he was heavily injured, the two of them might end up dying here if more trouble arrived. As a result, he carried Jian Chen and left the region as quickly as he could. Shen Jian's wounds healed extremely gradually. He was just too heavily injured, and since a god had injured him, his recovery was even more difficult. Even the medicine only managed to stop his condition from worsening. Red light still flickered on his wounds. The red light was the residual power from old man's laws of fire when he injured Xin Jian. The power of laws was something even beyond origin energy. It was the representation of godhood. If the power of laws had injured any regular origin realm expert, it would have been fatal. However, as Xin Jian had also grasped the power of laws, and his comprehension of the laws was no less than the old man's laws of fire did not pose a great of a threat as initially imagined. In fact, under the suppression of Xinjian's law of the sword, the residual power was unable to harm him anymore. It was just that he was in a hurry to run right now, so he did not have the power to deal with the laws of fire. He could only keep it suppressed for now. Xinjian lowered his head to look at Jian Chen, who he carried under his arm. When he discovered that the power from the laws of fire in Jian Chen's wounds was gradually fading, he immediately became both surprised and envious. He sighed in amazement. I really do wonder what kind of cultivation method you practice that gives you such a powerful body and regeneration. You're able to waste away the laws of fire just with your body's regeneration. This wasn't the first time Xinjian had praised Jian Chen's chaotic body. Back when he was still slightly weaker than Xiongzhong, Jian Chen had managed to repel Xiongzhong with his tough body and otherworldly regeneration rate. Afterwards, during the battle between him and Jian Chen where they split the moon in half, he was clearly stronger than Jian Chen, yet Jian Chen managed to hold his ground against him with the chaotic body, resulting in injuries to both of them in the end. Yet now, the toughness and regeneration of his chaotic body had matched up to how quickly the residual laws of fire could cause damage. He had even used the regeneration of his body to wear out the power from the laws of fire. Shen Jian fled with Jian Chen. Darkness descended and dawn broke again. After a day and night of flying, even Shen Jian no longer had any idea just how much distance he had crossed. He only knew that he had made his way out of the barren plains. Traveling in the Saints' world was much more difficult than on the Tianyuan continent. Not only was one's speed limited, but it would also take up a great deal of energy as well. Shen Jian struggled to support himself anymore after the great battle and subsequently fleeing for so long with his heavy wounds. In the end, he stopped by the side of a small lake. I have to cleanse the residual powers of the laws of fire from my wounds, or they won't heal. Shen Jian collapsed on the ground as he breathed heavily. He no longer had the power to travel. He immediately closed his eyes and used the power of the laws of the sword to purge the laws of fire from his wounds. The laws of fire were not Xinjian's opponent as they had lost their source. Very soon, they were completely purged, while Xinjian's consciousness faded after purging the laws of fire as well. He fell unconscious. Before long, the whistling of wind suddenly rang out in the sky. A treasure made for flight flew over. It was 300 meters long. There were several dozen black-clothed men on the vehicle who observed the surroundings. They stood there like guards. Every single one of them gave off quite a powerful presence. They were actually all of the Origin realm. At the very front of the vehicle were two women in luxurious clothes. They were as beautiful as goddesses, enough to outshine all the flowers in the world. However, from their appearance and gazes, it was quite evident that one of them was mature and steady-minded, while the other was mischievous and childish. Sister Shiyu, there's still one more day before we get back to the Mo clan. It has been quite a few years since I've seen father. I sure do miss him. I want to return as soon as possible. I wonder if he'll like the gift I've prepared for him, the childish woman said crisply. There was sense of yearning on her face. The woman who had been referred to as Shiyu smiled. She said, Father loves you so much, so how can he dislike the gift you've spent so much time and effort to prepare for him? Though, Mo Yen, the young master of the Audiobook sword sect, proposed marriage with you a few years ago. What do you think of it? I never want to be a couple with that young master. Sister Shiyu, you have no idea. I hate him. He makes me feel uncomfortable all over whenever I see him. I'll refuse with my life if you want me to become a couple with him. Mou frowned as she pouted. She revealed a sliver of uncontainable disgust when the young master of the Audiobook sword sect was mentioned. Now that the Liu family and Ando clan are getting closer and closer, it'll be bad for us if we don't forge alliances ourselves. Father agrees to your marriage with the young master because he wants to rope them in. After all, they also have a god. Shiyu sighed gently. She was filled with helplessness. I don't care. I simply refuse to marry that young master, Mo Yen snorted gently. She was headstrong. Suddenly, Mo Yen's eyes narrowed. Staring at the ground below, she said, Sister, you look. There are two injured people there. I can sense that they're still alive. Let's go and help them. Look at how they're all covered in blood. They're so pitiful. Mo Yen could not bear the sight, and her eyes became filled with some pity and sympathy. Shiyu glanced down calmly, but she did nothing. Instead, she said to Mo Yen, "Mo Yen, have you forgotten what I said before again? There are fights and deaths everywhere in the saints' world. The ties between people, whether good or bad, are never as simple as you imagine them to be. If you travel around the saints' world in the future, you'll see things like this even more often. It's not that you shouldn't save people, but there are just some people who won't show any gratitude for you saving them at all and will even stab you in the back when the opportunity arises. There are some people who might even bring trouble to you and the clan if you save them." Mo Yen clung onto Shiyu's arm and said like a spoilt child, "Okay, I get it. But Sister Shiyu, they really look so pitiful. They're bleeding so much and it's not safe out there. If they lay there, they'll definitely be eaten by some beasts. Let's help them. At most, we can leave after they've recovered. Not to mention, weren't you saved from outside by Father as well?" Shiyu poked Mo Yan's forehead heavily and said, "You're hopeless, but that was an exception." Chapter 1673. The Mo clan. The flying vehicle slowly descended, stopping 100 meters above Jianchen and Xinjian. Two guards in black clothes immediately leapt down. One of them glanced past the space rings on Jianchen and Xinjian's finger, and a sliver of greed flashed through his eyes. He murmured, "You two sure are lucky for our young lady to come across you." With that, the guard grabbed Xinjian by his clothes and lifted him from the ground. He handled Xinjian extremely roughly. The other guard directly went to remove Jianchen's space ring. However, as soon as he touched the space ring, the guard carrying Xinjian pressed his hand onto the other guard's shoulder. He said plainly, "It's not like you don't understand our young miss. You'll make her angry like this." The guard who tried to take Jianchen's space ring pulled back his hand reluctantly. He directly grabbed Jianchen by the collar and lifted him, before returning to the vehicle with the other guard. "How are their injuries? Are they heavy? Will they cause any future problems?" As soon as Jianchen and Xinjian arrived on the vehicle, Mo Yen asked from one side in concern. "Young miss, the two of them are quite injured, but they are still breathing. They shouldn't be dead," one of the guards replied politely. Shiyu Kami observed Jianchen and Xinjian for a while. Her calm gaze seemed to be able to penetrate many things, allowing her to completely check through Jianchen and Xinjian's wounds. Afterwards, she frowned. "They're even more heavily injured than I imagined. Even with the best medicine, they'll need quite some time to recover. Take them to the main cabin for now." "Yes, miss," the two guards replied politely, before disappearing with Jianchen and Xinjian. Jianchen and Xinjian lay in the cabin of the vehicle. No one paid any attention to them, nor did anyone mind their presence, almost as if they were transparent to the several dozen people on the vehicle. Aside from Mo Yen, who had come to visit them out of curiosity and had fed them some medicine, no one else came. After a day of flight, the vehicle finally stopped outside a huge estate. The estate was majestic and grand, with two words written fancily above the main entrance, Mo Clan. There were quite a few guards on patrol both inside and outside the clan, while the guards were either Saint Emperors or at the Origin Realm. The Mo clan was clearly quite a powerful clan to be able to have Origin Realm experts as guards. "Ah, my Yener has finally returned. How have you benefited from training outside this time?" As a vigorous voice rang out, a handsome man in blue robes walked through the air. He directly arrived in the vehicle as he looked at Mo Yen and Shiyu in adoration. "Greetings to the Patriarch. Greetings to Father." The guards and Shiyu on the vehicle all bowed towards the man. "Dad, I missed you so much." Mo Yen directly threw herself at the middle-aged man and tightly embraced him. The middle-aged man laughed aloud. He was still with love. With one hand on Mo Yen, he looked at Shiyu and asked gently, "Yuer, how's Yener been in the past few years outside?" Mo Yan's ear perked up, and she immediately turned her head. She looked at Shiyu pitifully with a pleading gaze. Shiyu rubbed her temples painfully when she saw how Mo Yen acted. She glared back at her viciously before saying, Father, although the results from Mo Yan's training this time are not ideal, she has still improved quite a lot. It's just that Mo Yan is too kind. She even saved 2 unknown people in the journey out this time. Mo Yan immediately raised her head towards the middle-aged man when she heard that. She said pitifully, "Father, the 2 of them were so miserable. They were lying on the ground, covered in blood. If I didn't save them, they would have been eaten by beasts. How could I just leave them to die?" The middle-aged man rubbed Mo Yan's head lovingly and smiled. "Since Yenner has saved them, let's have them settle down in the clan for now. But Yenner, you have to remember to not always save anyone who collapses your way. Do you understand?" "I understand. I knew that father is the best." Mo Yan immediately smiled happily. Just like that, Jian Chen and Shun Jian were taken into the Mo clan. The 2 of them were arranged into rooms of lower quality. Servants of the Mo clan normally occupied these rooms. Soon after Jian Chen had been taken to his room, he slowly opened his eyes. His gaze was filled with weakness and exhaustion. Half a day earlier, he had already recovered his consciousness, except he was simply too weak. Basically, all the power of his soul had been drained, and he needed to recover as soon as possible, which was why he chose to fake unconsciousness, so he could recover during that time. He heard everything in the conversation between Mo Yan and the Mo clan patriarch before. "The Mo clan," Jian Chen looked around and murmured. He inspected the wounds on himself, before immediately circulating his chaotic force to recover and regenerate his powdered bones. As he was unconscious before, Jian Chen was unable to push the regeneration of his chaotic body to its limits, so he was still extremely heavily injured. However, as soon as Jian Chen circulated his chaotic force, the regeneration of the chaotic body was demonstrated immediately. His pulverized organs and bones regrew at a visible rate. However, as Jian Chen did not want to reveal the fact that he was a Radiant Saint Master in the Mo clan, he did not use Radiant Saint Force to heal this time. A day later, all his bones had recovered, allowing him to regain his mobility. He directly sat up from his bed and continued to heal. At the same time, the power of his soul gradually recovered as well, except it was as slow as a snail compared to the regeneration of his body. As for Shun Jian, he remained by Jian Chen's side. He was still unconscious. The 2 of them shared a stone bed. Jian Chen and Shun Jian were like a drop of water in the ocean. They did not raise any attention, and at the same time, no one came to check on them. It was like no one remembered them anymore in the Mo clan. Jian Chen was more than happy about this situation because without any disturbances, he could recover in the shortest time possible. As long as he recovered, he could deal with any dangers he encountered in the clan. "I used the twin swords when I lost my mind, so that ancestor of the Lu family must die. Although he won't know about the swords as a mere god, he's still a problem." Jian Chen secretly recalled his battle against the ancestor of the Lu family as he healed. He made up his mind he had to kill the ancestor of the Lu family. Lu Fei stole the clan treasure of the Lu family. Just what is the Lu family's treasure? Healing is of the utmost importance right now, so I'll check through Lu Fei's space ring once I fully recover, Jian Chen murmured to himself. At this moment, a series of footsteps rang out from outside. Soon afterwards, the door to Jian Chen's room was pushed open. Mo Yan stood outside in a luxurious white dress. She looked inside curiously with her large eyes. "Oh, you're awake." Mo Yan stared at Jian Chen on the bed in surprise. Jian Chen had not cleaned away the blood on him yet, so it had already dried up on him, making him seem all bloody. However, Mo Yan did not find it terrifying at all. Jian Chen slowly opened his eyes and got off the bed. He clasped his fist towards Mo Yan and said, "I am Jian Chen. Thank you for saving me." Mo Yan stared at Jian Chen in shock. She pointed at him as she stuttered, "What? You can actually stand. Sister Shiyu said that you were very heavily injured, where even all your bones vanished. Even with high-quality medicine, it's impossible for you to recover so easily. It has only been a day. Thank you for your concern, young miss. Maybe because the medicine I used was of a rather high grade, so I was able to recover so quickly," Jian Che smiled. Any person could check through his wounds and tell, so he could not hide it even if he tried. As a result, he directly attributed all his healing to medicine, without trying to hide much. Chapter 1674, Doubt. Oh, no wonder you healed so quickly. So you still had high-grade medicine on you? Mo Yen understood. She tilted her head and carefully observed Jian Chen, before continuing, I can't sense any presence from you at all, so your cultivation must not be very great. How can you have such great medicine with such weak cultivation? It looks like you're not simple. A gleam of light flashed through Mo Yan's eyes and a cunning look appeared. She glanced at Jian Chen with other intentions as if Jian Chen was not a person but a huge treasure. Jian Chen could tell from a single glance that Mo Yen was still an inexperienced girl. He smiled, Miss, you are overestimating me. I obtained this medicine by accident when I entered the dwelling of a senior. Although the medicine is very effective, I only had one pill. You only had one of those pills? And I had planned on exchanging some of them from you so I could give them to Dad. Mo Yen became disappointed. Jian Chen laughed aloud when he heard that. It's quite rare for a young lady like you to be so filial. To thank you for your kindness, I'll definitely gift it to you if I come across any other similar recovery pills. Really? Mo Yan's eyes lit up and immediately became interested. Really? Jian Chen swore. Mo Yen, how many times have I told you that you can't just trust what others say? How can you be like this? How can those high-grade recovery pills be obtained so easily? Every single one of them is priceless, while the dwelling of a senior you mentioned is just a groundless statement. Even if a senior's dwelling was present before us right now, we probably won't be able to enter it. A rather cold voice rang out from outside as soon as Jian Chen finished talking. Shiyu entered the room silently as she spoke. She wore loose, white clothes, while her beautiful face was rather cold. Her eyes, limpid like the water in autumn, stared at Jian Chen rather sharply as if she wanted to understand his ins and outs completely. Behind her were two black-clothed guards. They both possessed strength at the origin realm, and they stared at Jian Chen without any particular expression. Sister Shiyu, you've come too? Mo Yen immediately ran to her side and stuck out her tongue mischievously. Shiyu glared at Mo Yu viciously before saying to Jian Chen, it doesn't matter who you are or why you're injured. Mo Yen saved you, so I do not wish to see you abuse her. Miss Mo Yen really is a kind-hearted person. However, I, Jian Chen, am not someone who ignores those who show me kindness. I will never forget the kindness you showed me. If I have the opportunity in the future, I will definitely return it. Farewell. With that, Jian Chen lifted the unconscious Xinjian and was about to leave the Mo clan. Although he had not fully recovered from his injuries and was not in peak condition, he still had some ability to protect himself. After leaving the Mo clan, he could use Radiant Saint Force to speed up his healing, and he would recover even faster than in the Mo clan. Oi, you're still injured, so how can you leave? It's so dangerous outside, and you're so weak. It'll be very difficult for you to survive if you leave. Seeing how Jian Chen wanted to leave, Mo Yen did not allow him. She directly stood in the doorway and blocked his path with her arms. In the past, my dad saved Sister Shiyu from outside, and before long, she broke through to deity, becoming one of the 6 elders of the Mo clan. What Dad did back then earned him the praise from great-grandfather. Although I'm not counting on the two of you to be as outstanding as Sister Shiyu now that I've saved you from outside after so much trouble, I still did something that was the same as what my dad did in the past. This is also my first time saving someone, so how can I let you leave like this? Mo Yen said sadly. She was in very low spirits. She then said to Shiyu, Sister Shiyu, do you think that I'm really useless? When Dad saved someone in the past, he was praised by great-grandfather so many times, yet now that I've saved someone, they're in a hurry to leave right after waking up. Shiyu looked at Mo Yen and felt a headache. Before Mo Yen had been born into the Mo clan, only a few people knew about her identity in the Mo clan. However, after she was born, she basically told everyone in the Mo clan about Shiyu's origins with her large mouth, such that basically everyone in the clan knew now. However, Shiyu just could not muster any anger when looking at the sad Mo Yen. She had watched Mo Yen grow up. Although they were not related by blood, She had already begun to treat Mo Yen as her own sister long ago. You should stay and recover in the Mo clan. It's not too late for you to leave after you've recovered. Don't let Mo Yan's kindness go to waste, Shiyu said to Jian Chen. Jian Chen hesitated with that. He really did not plan on staying in the Mo clan, as it would just get in the way of his healing. However, when he saw how dejected Mo Yen had become, he did not really want Mo Yan's kindness to go to waste, so he just agreed, if that's the case, I'll be disturbing you for a few more days. Mo Yen immediately beamed. After exchanging a few more words casually with Jian Chen, she left. The patriarch of the Mo clan sat before a desk in a study room within the depths of the Mo clan. He read the book in his hand with great interest, while Shiyu sat casually opposite of him. Father, I feel like the two people that Mo Yen saved aren't as simple as they seem, said Shiyu. Oh, tell me about it. In what areas do you think that they're not as simple as they seem? The patriarch asked calmly, as if he did not care too much about the conversation at all. That person called Jian Chen heals just too quickly. I checked his wounds earlier, and they were extremely severe. Even with high-grade recovery pills, it'll take a very long time to heal, yet he has almost made a full recovery in just a single day. Although there are some recovery pills of an extremely high grade that can achieve something like that, they're priceless. It's impossible for those pills to appear on someone who hasn't even reached godhood, said Shiyu. She could not tell Jian Chen's exact strength, but just from his presence, she could discern roughly that Jian Chen's strength should have been at reciprocity and not godhood. This was because she herself was a deity. She could not sense any of the pressure that a deity possessed from Jian Chen. As for being a god, Shiyu had not even considered it, as gods were existences who could hold the position of ancestor in clans like the Mo clan. As for Xinjian, she discerned his strength to be peak reciprocity with a single glance. There are quite a few people in the Saints world who come across fortuitous encounters, so there's no need to worry too much about this. Since they've been saved by Yenner, we can keep them in the clan for now. They can leave once they fully recover. Otherwise, it'll make Yenner unhappy, the patriarch said plainly. That was what I was thinking, said Shiyu. At this moment, the patriarch put down the book in his hand gently. His face became filled with helplessness, and he sighed gently. What does Yenner think of the engagement with the young master of the Atomo's sword sect? Father, Mo Yen is very firm with her decision. She'd rather die than marry him. Shiyu also sighed gently. She too was filled with helplessness. The patriarch of the Mo clan walked to the window and stared at the garden outside. He said in a soft voice, Actually, I don't want Yenner to marry the young master either because he's completely unworthy of our Yenner. It's just that the Liu family and Ando clan have just gotten far too close. They'll have an alliance formed between the two of them at any time. We're forced to band together with others as well, or we won't be able to last much longer here. Shiyu became dejected. She said with self-blame, Sorry, father. It's all because of me. It was me who brought danger to the Mo clan. The patriarch shrugged, Since you call me father, don't mention things like this ever again. You are the pride of our Mo clan. With your talent, you'll become a god in just a few thousand years, or even just a few centuries. It's just a pity that the Liu family and Ando clan refused to give you this opportunity to grow. It's all my fault. I failed to keep this matter a secret. Chapter 1675. The Dong'an Province. Father, what do we do next? Do we have to force Mo Yen to marry that young master for the clan? Shiyu asked. Her face was filled with sorrow and helplessness. She had watched Mo Yen grow up, so the two of them were like sisters. She really did not wish to see Mo Yen marry the young master of the Atomo's sword sect. She would not have cared if Mo Yen liked the young master, but she completely disliked him. She loathed him. The patriarch of the Mo clan stood by the window as he stared outside. His gaze was deep and he said, Let's try to persuade Yenner. If Yenner really insists on refusing, we'll give up on the marriage. Father, then what do we do if the Liu family and the Ando clan band together against us? Shiyu asked in worry. A determined gleam of light immediately flashed through the patriarch's eyes with that. He said coldly, The Liu family and Ando clan want to band together against us. Although part of the reason is because of your talent, so they want to prevent you from becoming a god, the main reason is still this treasure. This treasure has been secretly kept by our 3 clans for so many years. Since they want to break the rules and obtain our part of it, we can only go down together with them. Since they don't want us to obtain their part, we can't let them obtain our part either. With that, Shiyu became startled. She stared at the patriarch in disbelief and said, "Father, are you going to correct? Once the news about God King Duanmu's jade breaks out, you should know what kind of uproar would result from it. At that time, let alone all the clans in the Dong'an province, even the countless experts across the entire divine kingdom of Pingtian will rush over. Who do the Lu family and Ando clan think they are in the face of all those high-level clans? I just hope that the Lu family and Ando clan won't force me to do that." Jianqin healed slowly in the Mo clan. Although he did not possess any status in the Mo clan, he did not mind at all. In his eyes, the Mo clan was just a stop for him. He planned on leaving once Shenjian healed. Shenjian only slowly woke up 3 days later. Very soon he understood the situation from Jianqin. Then he immediately devoted himself to healing. During that period of time, Mo Yen had delivered some medicine. Although they were not extremely effective, Jianqin still accepted them, before using them all on Shenjian so that he could heal faster. Jianqin learned some basic information about the region he was in from Mo Yen as Shenjian healed. In the surrounding radius of 10 million kilometers, there were a total of 4 major organizations. The 4 organizations were the Mo clan, Lu family, Ando clan, and Otomo's sword sect. Each organization possessed an ancestor who was a god and reigned across a large expanse of land. There were various smaller clans in the lands, all subsidiaries of the 4 organizations. They would offer up some treasures or various resources every 1,000 years. Beyond the Mo clan, Lu family, Ando clan, and Otomo's sword sect was the Dong'an province. The Dong'an province was the name of the region, spanning a range of several 100 million kilometers. The 4 organizations all belonged to the Dong'an province. Jianqin, can you ask which plane this is among the 49 major planes of the Saints' world? Or which major planet it is of the 81 major planets? Fairy Hao Yu's voice rang out in Jianqin's head. Jianqin immediately asked Mo Yen, but she became confused after she heard the question. She said, "What 49 major planes? And what are these 81 major planets? I've never heard of them." Looks like she doesn't know much. She doesn't even know about the 49 planes and 81 planets. It looks like we'll have to ask the patriarch of the Mo clan if we want to know where we are, or even ask that god in the Mo clan. Only after confirming where we are can I find where the moon god hall is, Fairy Hao Yu said regretfully. At the same time, only several tens of million kilometers away in the Lu family, the ancestor of the Lu family sat there as he healed with lingering fear. His pale face was completely sunken. The treasure of my Lu family isn't that easy to steal. It doesn't matter who is behind you. I'll never forgive you. And that traitor Lu Fei. If it were not for the fact that your soul was wiped out, I definitely would have siphoned away your soul and tortured you in the most brutal method possible, the ancestor of the Lu family said through gritted teeth. He radiated with a heavy killing intent. Suddenly, the ancestor raised his hand and began drawing on the ground. Very soon, he drew Jianqin and Shenjian's appearances according to his memory. At the same time, he dripped a droplet of blood into Jianqin and Shenjian's images. Immediately, their presences appeared on the images. The blood came from the battle a few days ago when their blood had splashed onto the ancestor of the Lu family. He made use of the blood right now and made it into something crucial to finding the 2 of them. Very soon, the ancestor of the Lu family dug up the tablet of stone with their images from the ground. With a wave of his hand, the tablet was taken out of the room. At the same time, he said in a dignified voice, "Send everyone everywhere to find traces of these 2 people. Once you find any news, report to me immediately." "Yes, ancestor." A heavy voice rang out from outside and a black figure left with the stone tablet. He used a special secret technique to replicate many versions of the tablet, and every single one of them possessed Jianqin and Shenjian's presences. In the Saints' world, Differentiating people did not just require knowing the appearance but the presence as well. This was as the population in the saints' world was just too tremendous. There were obviously quite a few people who seemed exactly the same, so when that happened, presence was needed to distinguish between different people. Humans had the presence of humans, demons had the presence of demons, and immortals obviously had the presence of immortals. Everyone had a different presence, so there was no need to worry about finding the wrong person. Ando clan, Mo clan, and the Otomo sword sect, I don't wish the person behind the duo to be any of you, or I'll definitely wipe out your entire clan. Even if the people behind the two of them are one of the more powerful clans in the Dongan province, I won't let you have it either, the ancestor of the Lu family said in a gruff voice. Afterwards, a jade bottle immediately appeared with a flip of his hand. The ancestor became conflicted as he stared at the jade bottle. He murmured, "I'm very heavily injured. I've injured my very foundation, so even high-grade pills won't allow me to recover without a lot of time. If I don't heal quickly, it might even leave behind permanent, future problems. It looks like I can only consume this pill earlier than I planned. God damn it, this is the most valuable thing I obtained from God King Duanmu's tomb." Chapter 1676, Shen Jian steps into godhood. The ancestor of the Lu family stared at the jade bottle for quite some time before he opened it in a pained manner. He poured out a white pill the size of an eye. The entire room immediately became filled with a heavy fragrance with its appearance. Just a whiff of it was enough for people to clear their minds and feel at ease, filling them with a comfortable feeling all over. Clearly, the pill was of a very high grade. Just the fragrance it gave off demonstrated some recovery effects. The effects would be even more evident if it was consumed. The ancestor of the Lu family looked at the white pill in his hand reluctantly before closing his eyes and consuming it without any more hesitation. When he consumed it, his heart throbbed. He had always treated the pill as something that he could use to save his own life because the pill was of an extremely high grade. It would even possess the effects to bring him, a god, back from near death. It was equivalent to a second life, so he did not want to waste it like this. The government of the Dongan province reigned over the surrounding 100 million kilometers. They possessed an extremely high status, and all the clans in their territory had to offer up items periodically. There was a tremendous city erected on a vast expanse of flat land in the very center of the Dongan province. The city was immensely majestic, where its city walls stood several hundred meters tall. From afar, it seemed like a screen that was connected to the sky, while the walls stretched as far as the eyes could see. This city was the provincial city of the Dongan province, and it was also called Dongan. The 7 capital cities on the Tianyuan continent were ants in comparison to the city. They were on 2 completely different levels. The provincial city was representative of the Dongan province. Basically, most of the clans that possessed a certain amount of power resided in the city, leading to quite some complicated politics between the clans. No one knew just how many clans were in the city. At this moment, a middle-aged man with a dignified appearance dressed in luxurious clothes sat within a grand hall. He drank tea at ease within a huge manor in the city. He was being served politely by 2 female servants. Jean-Yi greets the patriarch. At this moment, a black-clothed man appeared silently before the middle-aged man and said politely. A gleam of light flashed through the middle-aged man's eyes with Jean-Yi's appearance. Even with his mental fortitude, he could not help but waver inside. A sliver of eagerness and anticipation appeared in his eyes. He dismissed the 2 female servants before he cautiously cast down a barrier around them. Only then did he say, "Jean-Yi, have you obtained it? Have you dealt with Lu Fei?" "Patriarch, I've remained at the agreed location for several days, and I haven't seen Lu Fei at all," Jean-Yi replied politely. "What?" The middle-aged man's face sank and his gaze sharpened in that instance. He said heavily, "Have you heard anything from the Lu family?" "Patriarch, the matter of Lu Fei's betrayal has been broadcasted from the Lu family, but Lu Fei didn't seem to escape. He seemed to have been killed by the ancestor of the Lu family," replied Jean-Yi. "Lu Fei is useless. I gave him the formation disc that was enough to keep an early god trapped for 2 days. It was more than enough for him to escape to where we would meet up. Lu Tian still caught him in the end. Not only have I wasted such a valuable formation disc, but the Lu family JS cautious now as well. It has become even more difficult to obtain that thing from the Lu family now. The middle-aged man was flustered. Originally, as the patriarch, it was impossible for him to lose his composure. However, Lu Fei's matter was just too important to him, so he struggled to remain calm. After a moment of hesitance, Zhang Yi continued, "Patriarch, I've also discovered another matter. Recently, the Lu family has sent out a large number of people to look for two unknown people secretly." Zhang Yi passed a drawing to the middle-aged man and said, "I obtained this from killing a clansman of the Lu family." The middle-aged man unfurled the drawing and had a look. It depicted Jian Qin and Xin Jian. After a moment of silence, the middle-aged man ordered Zhang Yi, "Go find out why the Lu family is looking for these two people. Additionally, arrange people to pay attention to all movements from the Lu family. Remember to move secretly. We can't afford other organizations in the Dong'an province to discover what we're doing." "This one understands. What about the Mo clan and the Ando clan?" Zhang Yi asked. "We've even failed with the Lu family, which we had the greatest confidence in. If we move against the Mo clan and the Ando clan, our chances of success will be even lower. It's fine that we failed though. I am only worried that it'll raise the attention of other organizations in the Dong'an province once we cause too much activity. It'll be awful for us, so there's no need to hurry about the Mo clan and Ando clan." Xin Jian currently sat on the stone bed in the servants' quarters. Meanwhile, Jian Qin sat beside him as he went through Lu Fei's space ring. There was quite a lot of things in Lu Fei's space ring, but most of them were cheap items useless to Jian Qin. After Fairy Hao Yu inspected a few of the items, they were all regarded as low quality or just subpar materials. They were not worth a single dime. However, Jian Qin did find some useful things. He took away all the medicinal pills of lower grades from Lu Fei's space ring. He also found some truth tier cultivation methods and battle skills, as well as Lu Fei's personal notes for cultivation. Jian Qin only glanced through Lu Fei's notes before deeming them as trash. He threw them away. The truth tier cultivation methods and battle skills were useless to Jian Qin as well, as they were only of the first grade. That was the lowest grade among the truth tier. "Jian Qin, you can't go without divine crystals in the saint's world. Divine crystals are condensed from the purest origin energy. Not only can they be used for cultivation, but they're also a form of currency in the saint's world. You can use these useless cultivation methods and battle skills to exchange for some divine crystals." Fairy Hao Yu's voice rang out in Jian Qin's head. "Divine crystals?" Jian Qin's interest was piqued when he heard that. He immediately threw the cultivation methods aside and with a flip of his hand, he removed a thumb-sized crystal from Lu Fei's space ring. The crystal glimmered with light as it hid some pure origin energy. "Is this the divine crystals you're speaking of?" Jian Qin asked. "Correct, that's a divine crystal. Divine crystals are split into supreme grade, high grade, mid-grade, and low grade. The one in your hand is only a low-grade divine crystal," said Fairy Hao Yu. Jian Qin looked through Lu Fei's space ring carefully and discovered 1,000 low-grade divine crystals. There was not a single mid-grade divine crystal. At this moment, Jian Qin's face changed. He removed a square box from Lu Fei's space ring and scrutinized it. He had no idea what the box's material was. It was extremely tough, and it was covered with formations, radiating with powerful pulses of energy. The box was so tough that even gods would struggle to break through its defenses. "What's inside this box? Is it the treasure of the Lu family?" Jian Qin said as he examined the box. However, at this very moment, a powerful pulse of energy suddenly appeared from beside him. With it was a presence that surged. Joy flickered through Jian Qin's eyes. He shoved the box back into his space ring casually and exited the room instantly with a flash. Soon after Jian Qin left the room, a layer of formations appeared around the servants' quarters. They were ordinary formations, cast down to protect the structure there. They possessed a certain level of toughness, where even late reciprocity experts were unable to smash through them. However, just when the formations appeared, They immediately began to collapse and shatter. Afterwards, the quarters where Jianchen stayed in was reduced to dust from a powerful pulse of energy, revealing Xin Jian, who sat on the stone bed. Xin Jian had finally begun to break through to godhood after healing. Chapter 1677. Shaking up the Mo clan. The powerful presence and ripples of energy from Xin Jian's breakthrough spread across the entire Mo clan, shocking everyone present. At that moment, whether it was the lowly servants or the prestigious members of the upper echelon, they all put down what they were doing and looked in Xin Jian's direction. Uncontainable envy and joy appeared on their faces. It's godhood, it's godhood. Our clan actually has someone else who has broken through to godhood. This is fantastic. With every expert at godhood, our clan will become slightly stronger. Many members of the upper echelon voiced their surprise and joy as they flew towards Xin Jian. Aside from the patriarch's residence in the Mo clan, 6 other halls were equally majestic. Every single hall had Origin Realm experts as guards. The presence of Origin Realm experts as guards was more than enough to indicate the incredibly high statuses of the owners of the halls. They were the godhood experts of the Mo clan, as well as the elders of the clan. At that moment, the eyes of the 6 elders in the clan snapped open simultaneously. They all looked towards Xin Jian's direction in interest. One of the females among them was Shiyu. There's actually someone who has attained godhood. Fantastic, our Mo clan has gained another elder. I wonder who has broken through, Shiyu murmured, before immediately standing up and making her way outside. She wanted to see who was breaking through. The 5 other elders at godhood emerged from the 5 other halls with Shiyu. It was quite a significant matter to the clan for someone to reach godhood. After all, there were only a few godhood experts with the entire clan in perspective, even when including the patriarch. As a result, the birth of each godhood expert was a joyous occasion for the Mo clan. That's strange. Why does the presence of the person breaking through come from that direction? If I remember correctly, that's the servants' quarters. The elders who had just emerged became doubtful because even early reciprocity cultivators possessed their own space to cultivate in the Mo clan. It was impossible for them to be arranged to the servants' quarters. Godhood experts, even just deities, were elders in the Mo clan. They were peak experts, while the Origin Realm cultivators formed the main force in the clan. Even though many Origin Realm experts did not possess any particular status, it was impossible for them to be arranged to live in the servants' quarters. Shiyu stared in Xin Jian's direction, and a thought popped into her head. She immediately became doubtful, and her face showed some disbelief. She thought, it can't be him, right? Sister Shiyu, has someone broken through to godhood? Fantastic, our clan has gained another godhood expert. Sister Shiyu, let's go see which uncle's broken through. Mo Yen ran over from afar excitedly. Joy filled her face. Shiyu nodded before making her way in Xin Jian's direction doubtfully with Mo Yen. By now, a large number of people had already gathered around Xin Jian. There were servants, guards, as well as a few members of the upper echelon who managed to make it over first. They all stood in the distance silently, all their gazes were fixated on Xin Jian. They all revealed a look of surprise on their faces. The members of the upper echelon, in particular, felt extremely confused inside. Old Zhou, who is this? Why have I never seen him before? And he lives in the servants' quarters. Since he has so much strength, why does he live there? I was thinking of asking you the exact same thing, but you beat me to it. A godhood expert has actually appeared in the servants' area. If word makes it out, many of the authoritative members communicated with each other secretly. They stared at Xin Jian in amazement as they were filled with questions. Jian Chen stood to one side with his arms crossed. He had managed to make his way into the crowd, so he did not raise too much attention. However, he was currently completely focused on Xin Jian. He silently observed the movements in the surroundings. If there were anyone brave enough to get in the way of Xin Jian's breakthrough, he would move without any hesitation against them. Very soon, the 6 godhood experts of the Mo clan arrived as well. With their arrival, the surrounding people parted to create a path for them. They all looked towards them politely, and even a few of the authoritative members of the clan behaved in the same manner. But isn't he the person I saved? How can he be the one breaking through to godhood? Mo Yan's mouth immediately dropped in shock when she saw the person breaking through was Shenjian. Disbelief filled her face. Shiyu said nothing. She looked at Shenjian with mixed emotions. She had never thought that Shenjian would break through to godhood. Although she had already discerned Shenjian's strength to be at the peak of reciprocity when Mo Yan saved Shenjian and Jianchen initially, she did not take it to heart. This was because there was a wall that was extremely difficult to overcome between the origin realm and godhood. Comprehending the laws of the world to obtain the key to godhood was countless times more difficult than going from sainthood to the origin realm. Even among 100 peak reciprocity experts, there would rarely be a single person who could reach godhood. It was exactly because of the difficulty that Shiyu did not pay particular attention to Shenjian's cultivation level, as there were plenty of peak reciprocity experts in their Mo clan. The 5 other godhood elders of the Mo clan looked around. A strange expression covered all their faces. One of them, a burly, bare-chested man, watched everything unfold with no idea how to react. He smiled gently. I never thought that the sir who has just broken through would live here. What a surprise! The patriarch of the Mo clan arrived as well. He knew about Jianchen and Shenjian's existences. Originally, he had only allowed them to stay temporarily at the clan because of his beloved daughter, and he would get them to leave after they recovered. But now that Shenjian had broken through, the patriarch began to feel conflicted. However, he made up his mind very soon, and determination flowed through his eyes. If it was just a peak reciprocity expert, his clan could afford to ignore him, but his clan had to try to rope him to their side if it was a godhood expert. Whether it was the patriarch or the 6 elders, they all remained by Shenjian's side as he broke through. They watched over him without taking a single step away. No one left, nor did they cause any activity to disturb Shenjian. Jianchen saw this in the crowd, and he could not help but nod secretly. However, he remained just as cautious as before, ready to protect Shenjian during his breakthrough. Chapter 1678. Roping them in several hours later, Shenjian's breakthrough finally came to a close successfully. As his powerful presence was gradually withdrawn, he suddenly snapped open his eyes. The moment Shenjian snapped open his eyes, a light flashed through his eyes. It bore an extremely sharp sword intent. When the 6 elders of the Mo clan saw it, their hearts all trembled uncontrollably without any exception. Shenjian's gaze alone made them feel pressured. The patriarch of the Mo clan's eyes suddenly narrowed as well. His gaze towards Shenjian underwent a drastic change as well. There was some sternness. This person is strong. Although he has only just broken through to early deity, there are probably very few early deities who are his opponent, thought the patriarch. Before Shenjian could say anything, the Mo clan patriarch clasped his fist towards Shenjian with a smile and said, I am the patriarch of the Mo clan, Mo Yan. Congratulations, brother Shenjian, on breaking through to godhood. From today onwards, our Dong'an province has gained a new godhood expert. The Mo clan patriarch spoke extremely politely. Coupled with his current expression and attitude, people who had no idea really would have believed that the patriarch and Shenjian had met each other long ago and were quite close. Shenjian responded to the patriarch by clasping his fist. You flatter me, patriarch. There are quite a lot of godhood experts in the Dong'an province. I'm only someone who has reached godhood recently, so I'm nothing worth mentioning. I am sure I have caused quite some trouble with my brother over the past few days by recovering in your clan. The patriarch shrugged and said without caring much at all, What trouble? Brother Shenjian is too polite. It was just that my daughter Yenner isn't very sensible. She actually did not even notify me of your visit, so I couldn't receive you properly. As he said that, he glared at Mo Yan. Mo Yan stuck out her tongue and pulled a face at the patriarch. However, she was ecstatic inside. She had never thought that she would do the same thing as her father and save a godhood expert from outside. Shenjian and the patriarch spoke some more. The patriarch became stern and said, I truly am sorry for failing to receive you properly. May I ask brother Shenjian which sect or clan you come from? That way, I can visit you in the future and personally make it up to you. Both Jian Chen and Shun Jian understood that the patriarch was probing into their backgrounds when they heard this question. I may have to disappoint the patriarch. We've only arrived in the saints' world recently, so we don't belong to any organization, replied Shun Jian. The patriarch was surprised inside. He asked in amazement, You've come to the saints' world recently? Does that mean you came from a lower world? Correct, Shun Jian replied. Shiyu's eyes narrowed, clearly suspicious. The other godhood elders looked towards Shun Jian in surprise as well. The patriarch was overjoyed. He clasped his fist towards Jian Chen and Shun Jian and said, If you are satisfied with my clan, why don't you stay in my clan for now? Although my clan isn't very big, we do have a god. And we have a stable footing in the Dong'an province. Jian Chen had never considered staying in the Mo clan for any longer. Now that Shun Jian had recovered and reached godhood, he was already prepared to leave the Mo clan with Shun Jian. Just when he wanted to decline the patriarch's invitation to stay, Shun Jian cut him off. The two of us just happen to have nowhere to go. At the same time, we're unfamiliar with the saints' world, so if the patriarch doesn't mind, we can only trouble you for a few days longer. The patriarch was overjoyed inside. He clasped his hands without minding it at all. It's not a problem at all. It's not a problem no longer. How long brother Shun Jian and Jian Chen plan on staying in our Mo clan? Just like that, Shun Jian and Jian Chen settled down in the Mo clan temporarily. Now that Shun Jian had reached godhood, his status was completely different from before. In order to show how much he cared for Shun Jian, the patriarch erected a seventh majestic hall in the Mo clan as a place for Shun Jian to cultivate. Only elders in the Mo clan usually own such a hall. Apart from that, the patriarch also arranged a group of Origin Realm experts as guards around his hall. Of course, he was not trying to spy on them. Rather, he wanted to emphasize Shun Jian's superior status in the clan as a godhood expert. Jian Chen and Shun Jian sat in front of each other within the seventh hall of the Mo clan. I originally planned on leaving once you healed and go roam the outside world. But why did you choose to stay? Our comprehension of laws far exceeds our cultivation level, so our strength can be increased drastically as long as we have enough resources. Staying in the Mo clan will only delay our cultivation, Jian Chen asked in confusion. Every step after reaching godhood required the comprehension of laws. Both his and Shun Jian's way of the sword had reached the major achievement of sword origin, which was enough for them to become gods without any obstructions at all. They only lacked resources. Although they could increase their strength from absorbing the origin energy in the surroundings, their strength would progress at a much slower pace. Jian Chen, I chose to remain in the Mo clan because there are still people waiting for us in the lower world. Aside from increasing our strength, we have to gain a proper footing in the saints' world during the 10 millennia we spend here so that we can pave a path for anyone else who comes up later on. The Mo clan is not a bad place for us to start, said Shun Jian. He looked towards Jian Chen and continued, At the same time, the problem on you still remains. Once you lose your mind, you won't be able to tell friend from foe. I won't be able to stop you, and I might even die at your hands. Jian Chen fell silent with that. He thought of the people waiting for him in the lower world. Not only were there his wives, but there was also his parents and his various good friends. Although he could come across a few fortuitous encounters by roaming the outside world, his life would also be in danger. He could die at any time. He did not mind dying, but if he died, it would become even more difficult for his wives and parents to survive once they came to the saints' world. Apart from that, the lives of Shangguan Mu'er, newbies, Xiao Ling, Xiao Jin, the White Tiger Rui Jin, Hong Lian Heiyu, and so on in the Bright Moon Divine Hall all lay with him. His death might also cause them to die. Jian Chen sighed inside. With a flip of his hand, a space ring appeared in his hand. He took out all the low-grade divine crystals that he had obtained from Lu Fei and said, If I want my chaotic body to break through again, I need a tremendous amount of energy. These divine crystals are useless to me, so you take them. We have to raise our strength as fast as possible right now. Shen Jian picked up the thumb-sized crystals and sensed the pure origin energy inside. His eyes immediately lit up and he said, "If there are enough divine crystals, I'll be able to reach mid-deity in a short amount of time." Chapter 1679, Maple Leaf City. You should require quite a lot of divine crystals to reach mid-deity. It shouldn't be easy to gather so much in a short period of time, Jianchen said as he pondered. Then he took out a few old scrolls and said, "Apart from these divine crystals, I found some truth-tier cultivation methods and battle skills in Lu Fei's space ring, but they're all of the first grade. Have a look if you need them." Xin Jian glanced past the scrolls and said, "They're useless to me if they're only of the first grade. Let's get rid of them. We should be able to exchange some divine crystals for them." That was what I was planning. I've already done some research. There's quite a large city a few million kilometers away from the Mo clan. Let's sell these items tomorrow and get as many divine crystals as we can. Let's increase your strength as much as possible and then go to the Lu family, said Jianchen. The Lu family? You plan to wipe them out? Xinjian asked. The two of them had almost died at the hands of the Lu family ancestor a few days ago, so he also bore hatred toward the Lu family. The origins of my twin swords are beyond ordinary. Once the news that I possess the two swords spreads across the saint's world, I'll be doomed. During the battle against the ancestor of the Lu family, I used the swords against him when I lost my mind, so I have to kill the ancestor to stop him from spreading the news about my two swords, Jianchen said coldly. Shen Jian nodded as if he understood. He could not help but think of the two swords Jianchen carried on his back in the past. He felt extremely curious about them. He had no idea just how special the two simple-looking swords were to actually make Jianchen act so careful. The next day, a vehicle capable of flight, which was several hundred meters long, slowly rose up from the Mo clan and shot off into the distance. Jianchen and Shun Jian stood beside each other with their arms crossed on the deck of the vehicle. They studied the vehicle with interest. There were several dozen guards on the vehicle apart from them. They were all at the origin realm. They were scattered across the vehicle, all filled with caution. The flying cultivators that they came across from time to time immediately showed fear and envy when they saw the setup of the vehicle. Without any hesitation, they avoided the vehicle. Originally, Jianchen and Xinjian planned to directly fly over to the city, but after learning that they planned to go out, the patriarch convinced them to use this vehicle. Not only was this vehicle capable of moving very fast, but it did not consume origin energy for travel. More importantly, riding the vehicle would further emphasize their identities. Using this for travel really is convenient. It's completely steered using formations, and it replenishes its energy by absorbing the origin energy in the surroundings automatically. During times of need, it can even activate a second set of formations and move even faster by burning divine crystals. Even deities would struggle to match its speed. Xinjian studied the vehicle and said a word of praise. This vehicle is not cheap. Even though it's only a first-grade saint artifact, I heard from Mo Yen that it's over 100 times more expensive than other saint artifacts of the same grade. The entire Mo clan only has 2 such saint artifacts, said Jianchen. His gaze became filled with desire. If he possessed a high-grade vehicle, would that mean that even god kings would struggle to catch up to him? It would be a treasure for fleeing. Of course, Jianchen could only afford to think about it. High-grade vehicles would be incredibly expensive. There was no way he could purchase one. At the very least, he did not have the wealth for one right now. Maple Leaf City was the only large city in the surrounding radius of several tens of million kilometers. It was only a few million kilometers away from the Mo clan. Jianchen and Xinjian arrived outside Maple Leaf City very soon. They parked the vehicle from the Mo clan outside the city and got the several dozen guards to watch over it. The two of them entered Maple Leaf City without taking any guards with them. Maple Leaf City was huge. The entire city took up an area equal to the Jessen Kingdom on the Tianyuan continent. On such a large piece of land, many clans of various sizes had obviously appeared, dividing up all the land in the city. Before he had come, Jianchen obtained a map of the city from the Mo clan, so he knew how the shops were divided in the city very well. As soon as they entered the city, They followed the busy main street and headed directly toward the center of the city. Many people sat on the sides of the street, laying out a few low-quality items. Various calls constantly rang out. Of course, the people who set up stalls on the streets of Maple Leaf City were not particularly powerful. Almost all of them were sainthood experts, and only other sainthood experts would use their items at most. Many shops would not buy such low-level items. As Jian Chen and Shun Jian made their way towards the center of the city, they would enter a few shops from time to time. Through the comparison of prices, they gained a rough understanding of how much their truth-tier cultivation methods and battle skills were worth. But to their joy, first-grade truth-tier cultivation methods were actually worth 10,000 low-grade divine crystals. The value of battle skills was even greater, reaching into the several tens of thousands. The value of these items surprised them. In the end, Jian Chen sold the cultivation methods and battle skills at a shop called Maple Leaf Pavilion. He obtained a total of over 100,000 low-grade divine crystals. At this moment, Jian Chen's eyes narrowed. He saw an immortal artifact sword. Even though it was only of the lowest grade, it had caught Jian Chen's interest. "Do you have any mid-grade saint artifact flying swords for sale?" Jian Chen asked. A sliver of surprise flashed through the old man's eyes that Jian Chen had just done business with. He studied Jian Chen and Shun Jian secretly and smiled. "We, the Maple Leaf Pavilion, are the largest group of shops in Maple Leaf City. We naturally have mid-grade saint artifact flying swords, and we have two of them. One is of the 4th grade, while the other is of the 5th. Do you wish to purchase one?" Saint artifacts were the same as immortal artifacts, possessing 3 divisions. Saint artifacts ranging from the 1st to 3rd grades were low quality, 4th to 6th grades were medium quality, while 7th to 9th grades were high quality. Apart from that, a few saint artifacts that had exceeded the 9th grade but had not reached the level of god artifacts were known as supreme quality saint artifacts. Chapter 1680, Movements Exposed. "Let's see the 2 flying swords first," Jian Chen said calmly. He was unable to use his twin swords in the saint's world, so he had to prepare another sword. Only like that could he muster all his strength. Although the twin swords were of extraordinary origins, they were not of a particularly high quality due to the lack of materials. They had barely reached medium-quality immortal artifacts. As such, if he used another medium-quality saint artifact, it would not affect his strength. "Sir, we do have medium-quality saint artifacts, but the price?" The old man behind the counter looked at Jian Chen hesitantly. Jian Chen and Shun Jian had even sold him first-grade truth-tier cultivation methods and battle skills. Just that was enough for him to tell that the two of them were not rich. How could they afford a medium-quality saint artifact? Even if they took a look, it would just be a waste of a look. Most importantly, he was unable to do anything about the matter, as the manager of Maple Leaf Pavilion was required to show them the medium-quality saint artifacts. Jian Chen's face sank slightly, and his gaze immediately sharpened. He asked, "Are there requirements for just having a look at your medium-quality saint artifacts?" The old man immediately jerked from Jian Chen's sharp gaze. Even his face changed drastically, becoming rather pale. He felt that Jian Chen's gaze was like 2 extremely sharp swords. He felt like he had become surrounded by swords just from the gaze, making him feel a slight prickle all over him. It was like thousands of swords would pierce him with just a slight movement. "Sir, please calm down, please calm down. I'll go ask the manager, as the medium-quality saint artifacts are stored on the highest floor of our pavilion. There are many formations there. Only the manager has the right to take you up there," the old man said with a trembling voice. His forehead had already become drenched with cold sweat. He stared at Jian Chen fearfully. The old man had reached early receival, so even peak reciprocity experts were unable to pressure him so much from just a single stare. Godhood, he must have reached godhood, the old man was secretly shocked. Without any hesitation, he immediately went to contact the manager of Maple Leaf Pavilion. Very soon, the old man returned with a white-clothed, scholarly, middle-aged man. Jian Chen could tell from a single glance that the middle-aged man was at early reciprocity. "I am Chu Fei, the manager of Maple Leaf Pavilion. Are you the two looking to buy medium-quality Saint artifacts? The middle-aged man spoke to Jian Chen and Shen Jian enthusiastically and also studied them secretly. He discovered that he was unable to tell either of their strengths, so he immediately shivered inside. He behaved even more politely. "We want to have a look," said Jian Chen. "Please come with me then." The middle-aged man extended a hand to invite Jian Chen and Shen Jian, before directly taking them to the top floor of the pavilion. The defenses of the top floor were extremely tight. Layers of formations encircled one another, resulting in a combination of illusion formations, killing formations, and defensive formations. Even Jian Chen could not help but take a few extra glances. The defenses here are so tough that even a deity would have to take some time to get through them. If they end up trapped here, it won't be enough to threaten their lives, but leaving will be an entirely different matter, Jian Chen thought. At this moment, the middle-aged man opened the formation with a secret technique and directly led Jian Chen and Shen Jian in. The fourth floor of the Maple Leaf Pavilion was extremely spacious. There were only 6 objects placed in the quiet room, unlike the first floor that was filled with various items. Jian Chen glanced past them and discovered that basically, all 6 were weapons. There were 3 medium-quality Saint artifacts, while the remaining 3 were low-quality Saint artifacts that were close to being medium quality. Jian Chen did not pay too much attention to the other Saint artifacts. His eyes were fixated on the 2 medium-quality Saint artifact flying swords as if he had been drawn in by them. Both of the swords were around the same size, 1.3 meters long and 2 fingers wide. One was completely fire-red and shone with red light as if flames were burning inside. This is a fire-attributed Saint artifact. If experts who have comprehended the laws of fire uses it, their strength will be increased drastically. Of course, even if you've comprehended the laws of other attributes, you still can use this sword, but you won't be able to use its full power, the manager explained from one side. He was extremely enthusiastic. In reality, his attitude had undergone an overwhelming change after understanding that it was extremely likely for Jian Chen and Shen Jian to be godhood experts. Jian Chen's gaze remained on the fire-attributed flying sword for a short while before losing interest. Then he looked towards the second flying sword. The second sword was completely silver-white and covered by a hazy white glow. To no surprise, it had reached the 5th grade as a Saint artifact. Meanwhile, the red sword was also a medium-quality Saint artifact, but only of the 4th grade. "Manager Chu, may I inquire about the price of this sword?" Jian Chen stared at the flying sword and asked without looking away. The name of this sword is Flying Snow. It was personally forged by Master Blacksmith Xen Nong in the Dong'an province, and it is the most valuable item in our Maple Leaf Pavilion. It has been crowned the name of the treasure of our pavilion. "Its price is 100,000 mid-grade divine crystals," replied the manager. After a moment of thought, Jian Chen said, "Manager Chu, can you put this flying snow sword on hold for me? I'll come back a few days later to buy it." 100,000 mid-grade divine crystals were equivalent to 10 million low-grade divine crystal. Jian Chen only had a little more than 100,000 low-grade divine crystals on him right now, so he had nowhere near enough to buy the sword. However, he possessed the strength of a godhood expert after all. He could even fight early gods, so obtaining 10,000 mid-grade divine crystals was only a matter of time. "Of course I can. Actually, the flying snow sword has already been with our Maple Leaf Pavilion for over 1,000 years now. It hasn't been sold during that time, so leaving it here for a few decades wouldn't be a problem at all. Looks like the flying snow sword will find its owner very soon now," Manager Chu said straightforwardly. Jian Chen and Shen Jian left Maple Leaf City with their low-grade divine crystals. Then they returned to the Mo clan on the flying vehicle provided to them. On the vehicle, Jian Chen gave Shen Jian all the low-grade divine crystals, assisting him in increasing his strength. Once Shen Jian reached mid-deity or late deity, he would be prepared to move against the ancestor of the Liu family. After the duo left the city, the manager of Maple Leaf Pavilion stood politely before the city lord of Maple Leaf City in the city lord's estate. He told the city lord everything that had happened in Maple Leaf Pavilion earlier. The city lord of Maple Leaf City was a dignified, middle-aged man. He vaguely gave off a unique, godhood presence. After listening to the manager's report, he sank into his thoughts temporarily. He only looked at the flying snow sword? A while later, the city lord asked with a stately bearing. Yes, he was only interested in buying the flying snow sword. He didn't seem to have enough divine crystals on him, which was why he didn't buy it. He got me to place it on hold, and he said that he would come back a few days later to buy it. The manager responded politely. The city lord waved his hand and said, "All right, I understand. You can go." The manager was dismissed. After that, the city lord waved his hand and a jade mirror appeared. Through a series of hand seals, the jade mirror immediately began to flicker, and a while later, the patriarch of the Mo clan's face appeared. "Brother Mo, the flying snow sword in my maple leaf pavilion caught the eyes of the two people you mentioned. Except their funds seemed low, so they did not buy it. Do you want the flying snow sword?" The city lord smiled towards the patriarch. "Yes, of course I want it. I'll send people over to take it right now. However, Brother Feng, we've been friends for thousands of years after all, so could you cut the price of the sword a little?" The patriarch of the Mo clan chuckled. Sure. At the same time, a black figure silently appeared outside the location where the ancestor of the Liu family cultivated. He said politely, "Ancestor, there has been news about the two people you're searching for. Recently, they appeared in Maple Leaf City, and they rode the flying ship from the Mo clan." Bang! A heavy sound rang out from the room, causing the ground to shake. The ancestor's furious roars rang out from inside. "Mo clan, it really is you. I suspected that it would be you. I will never let you go. I will wipe out your entire clan." Chapter 1681, Treasure of the Liu Family, 1. As the furious roars of the ancestor rang out, the heavy stone door to the room sluggishly opened with a rumble. The ancestor of the Liu family walked out slowly in his gray robes. With every single step he took, his presence climbed to a new level. By the time he fully emerged from the room, his presence had flooded the surroundings, enveloping the sky and the entire Liu family. He had already fully recovered from the wounds he suffered at Jian Chen's hand, and even his strength had reached his peak. It had even improved drastically, reaching the peak of early god. He was only an inch away from mid-god, and he only needed to reach the required comprehension of laws. When the ancestor's presence enveloped the entire Liu family, the expressions of the patriarch and the various elders all changed. Through the ancestor's presence, they could all clearly feel the ancestor's fury. There was also a palpable killing intent that sent chills down the spines of everyone in the presence. "The ancestor is summoning us." The patriarch looked towards the location where the ancestor cultivated and became extremely stern. Soon afterwards, he disappeared with a flash in an instant, rushing towards where the ancestor stayed as quickly as he could. At the same time, all the elders in the Liu family hurried towards the ancestor's location as well. The ancestor of the Liu family stood with his arms crossed and his face sunken outside his room. With a flash, several figures appeared before him. The patriarch and basically all the elders had arrived at the same time. "Greetings to the ancestor." The patriarch and the 8 elders all bowed towards the ancestor. The ancestor of the Liu family glanced past everyone coldly and said, "I've already reached the bottom of this. Liu Fei's betrayal is linked to the Mo clan. It was the Mo clan that bribed him, getting him to steal our treasure. Our treasure is currently in the hands of the Mo clan." "What? It's actually the Mo clan? We were just planning on working with the Ando clan against them. Never would I have thought that they would move against us first. Ancestor, we have to make the Mo clan pay the price," an elder said coldly. The patriarch's gaze became cold as well. "Looks like the Mo clan has become bold just because they have a Shiyu. They're actually meddling in our affairs. Ancestor, I'd say we immediately move against the Mo clan together. We can't give them any time to catch their breath. Shiyu is very talented, and she cultivates very quickly. If this continues, she'll become a god. At that time, we'll suffer heavy losses even if we work with the Ando clan. It won't be worth it." The patriarch is right. Ancestor, please give the order. We can't let the Mo clan catch their breath. The other elders all requested for battle as well. They were all furious. The Mo clan had actually stolen their treasure. They could not be spared. No, we can't move against the Mo clan right now. Recently, the Mo clan gained a mysterious expert. He is very powerful. A few days ago, I battled him, and we both suffered heavy injuries in the end, the ancestor of the Liu family said with a sunken face. What? The Mo clan has gained another god? The patriarch and the several elders immediately became surprised. To them, this was the worst news possible. No, he's not a god. Although I couldn't see his exact cultivation, I could tell from the battle that he was still a deity. It's just that his comprehension of laws are no less than mine. Of course, just that still isn't enough to heavily injure me. What really injured me was the mighty treasure he used at the end, the ancestor of the Liu family said uneasily. Before anyone could ask a question, the ancestor continued, we have to make full preparations against an expert like that now that the Mo clan has gained someone like him. We can't act recklessly, or not only will we fail to wipe out the Mo clan, but we'll become doomed instead. You can leave for now. Be prepared for a battle against the Mo clan. The patriarch and elders of the Liu family all departed. Mobilize everyone to pay close attention to all movements of the Mo clan. Remember to be secretive. Do not let the Mo clan discover your movements, said the ancestor. Yes, sir. The black figure who had come bearing the news replied politely. He vanished after bowing to the ancestor. The ancestor remained where he was with his arms crossed. He thought back to all the details of his battle with Jianchen a few days ago. Whenever he thought of the profound sword Qi Jianchen used in the very end, fear and dread would immediately appear in his eyes. Just what was that? Was it some secret treasure I haven't heard of? Or was it some sort of powerful technique? The ancestor murmured. Even until now, he still did not know what the profound sword Qi used by Jianchen was. 7 majestic halls stood silently in the Mo clan. Origin realm guards surrounded every hall, and they held their posts silently. Only the godhood elders of the Mo clan could reside in such a hall. Shen Jian currently sat on his jade bed in the newly constructed 7th hall. In his hands were around a dozen thumb-sized divine crystals. He rapidly absorbed the pure origin energy within the low-grade divine crystals, which transformed into strands of pure energy that entered his body. He refined it into a part of him. There was not a lot of origin energy within low-grade divine crystals. Very soon, all the divine crystals ran out of origin energy and turned to dust. Shen Jian slowly opened his eyes and looked at Jianchen, who sat at a table nearby. Currently, Jianchen was eating some desserts leisurely. He said, the origin energy that these low-grade divine crystals can provide is extremely limited. Just these divine crystals won't be enough for me to reach mid-deity. These crystals can't even provide me 1/10 or even 100th of the origin energy I require to reach mid-deity. Jianchen did not find that to be a surprise at all. Over 100,000 low-grade divine crystals sounded a lot, but in reality, that was only a little more than 1,000 mid-grade divine crystals, or around a dozen high-grade divine crystals. Jianchen arrived before Xinjian and took out the box he obtained from Liu Fei again. He said, if my guess is correct, the treasure of the Liu family should be in here, except the box is protected by powerful formations. Even gods would need to expend quite the effort to get through it, so why don't we get through the box together and see what's inside? Chapter 1682, Treasure of the Liu Family, 2. The light in Xinjian's eyes immediately glittered when he saw the box protected by layers of formations in Jianchen's hand. He was also extremely curious about the treasure of the Liu family. This formation really is very powerful. If I were alone, it'd be extremely arduous to get through the formations. However, if we work together, we should be able to get through it within a day, said Xinjian. With that, a dazzling white light immediately appeared in his hand, condensing into a strand of powerful sword Qi in a single moment. Xinjian pressed it against the box. Powerful origin energy pulsed within the white light. He had directly used both his cultivation and laws of the sword against the formations on the box. This is the Mo clan. Remember to control your power so that you don't alarm others, said Jianqin. He also began to condense his power of laws in his right hand, creating a dazzling strand of sword qi just like Xinjian to attack the formations on the box. Met with their attacks, the formations on the box immediately began to flicker. All the formations were activated at that moment, revealing their greatest power. They transformed into a robust defense against their vicious attacks. At the same time, the formations absorbed the origin energy in the surroundings. The energy rapidly gathered towards the box and was constantly absorbed so that the formations could replenish their energy. After all, maintaining a formation required energy. Even though the formations on the box could sustain itself for quite a long while, there were many formations on the box, and there just happened to be formations that could gather origin energy. As soon as the formations on the box began to absorb the origin energy in the surroundings, Jianqin knew that it was no longer possible to avoid drawing the attention of the Mo clan. The formation on the box gathered origin energy exceptionally quickly. Let alone godhood experts, even all the origin realm experts in the Mo clan could sense the changes to the surrounding origin energy clearly. However, this did not cause Jianqin and Xinjian to stop. Instead, they devoted themselves to getting through the formations because the hall was equivalent to Xinjian's personal residence. Without his permission, even the patriarch of the clan could not enter without good reason, let alone the elders. After all, godhood experts were revered in the Mo clan, even if they had only just broken through to godhood. As expected, the other elders in the surrounding halls opened their eyes when they sensed the abnormalities of the origin energy in the surroundings. They all looked towards the 7th hall. Looks like Xinjian's talent is very outstanding. He is actually able to create such a disturbance when he cultivates. There's no way I can match up to how quickly he absorbs origin energy. Absorbing origin energy? Sigh, it has already been several thousand years since I've experienced something like that. I've already been stuck at mid-deity for several thousand years. It's just a pity that I've failed to make any progress with my comprehension of laws, preventing me from reaching late deity. The godhood elders in the Mo clan all murmured to themselves. They had mistakenly thought that Xinjian's cultivation had caused the disturbance. At the same time, the patriarch of the Mo clan looked towards Xinjian's residence. Sensing the rate at which origin energy gathered in that direction, he could not help but praise. So I was right. Xinjian's talent is truly extraordinary. Apart from Yuer, there's probably no one else in our clan who can rival him. I have to rope him in. If he becomes the 7th elder of the clan, we might become powerful enough to move into the provincial city. Of course, that is given that the Lu family and the Ando clan don't come to create trouble for us. Several million kilometers away from the Mo clan, in a certain mountain range, there was a dense cluster of structures. They were beautiful, creating a wonderful combination with the surrounding mountains and water, partially enshrouded by mist. There were even various birds flying in the sky and precious beasts moving along the ground. They would cry out from time to time. From afar, it seemed like an otherworldly place. This was where the Ando clan resided. The Ando clan was the same as the Lu family, Mo clan, and Atomo's sword sect. They were one of the 4 that reigned supreme in the region. However, compared to the 3 other organizations, the Ando clan had extremely great specifications for where they stayed. They had purposefully made the clan seem like an otherworldly place. Of course, the Ando clan had paid quite the price to have everything set up in such a manner. At this moment, in one of the secret rooms within the clan, the ancestor of the Lu family sat with a ruddy old man. The two of them discussed a certain matter sternly. The ruddy old man was the ancestor of the Ando clan, Andogu. What? The treasure of your Lu family has ended up in the hands of the Mo clan? Ludun, are you sure? Andogu stared at the ancestor of the Lu family in shock. Disbelief filled his face. The ancestor of the Lu family's face darkened. His eyes were filled with killing intent, and he said coldly, "Andogu, do you think I'm joking?" However, when Lu Tian fled from my Lu family, he was already heavily injured. When he met up with the people from the Mo clan, They took the treasure from him and killed him afterwards to silence him and prevent my family from learning about this matter. What the Mo clan never expected was that I would manage to break out of the formation in time to catch up, allowing me to learn who was responsible for this. Their plan to obtain the treasure of my Lu family secretly failed as a result. With that, Ando-gu became stern as well. He said furiously, "I never thought that the Mo clan would be so wildly ambitious. They've gone too far." The ancestor of the Lu family looked at Ando-gu and said with a deep voice, "Since the Mo clan has already laid their hands on us, there must be someone in your Ando clan that has been bribed as well. Maybe one of your godhood elders has already pledged themselves to the Mo clan, and they're secretly eyeing the treasure of your Ando clan. They'll make your clan suffer the same as us once they have the opportunity." Ando-gu slammed the table. He snorted coldly, "Looks like the Mo clan thinks they're a big deal now just because they have a Shiyu. They think that can take on both of us just with that. No, the Mo clan doesn't just have Shiyu. They also have another mysterious godhood expert. It was he who took the treasure from Lu Fei initially, despite only being a deity. I fought against him and failed to gain the upper hand, so I failed to retrieve our treasure," the ancestor of the Lu family said nonchalantly. Ando-gu was surprised. "What? The Mo clan actually has such a great expert, to the point where even you failed to gain the upper hand? Just where did the Mo clan recruit someone like that?" "Ando-gu, the Mo clan is about to rise. We have to move quickly. Otherwise, even if we band together, we won't be their opponents once Shiyu becomes a god if you include that mysterious expert," said the ancestor of the Lu family. Chapter 1683, Treasure of the Lu Family, 3. Ando-gu gently tapped the jade table before him, and the light in his eyes flickered. He became uneasy. He measured the losses of his Ando clan if he went to battle against the Mo clan. However, Ando-gu made up his mind after only hesitating for a short while. He stared at the ancestor of the Lu family with shining eyes and said gruffly, "Lu Tian, when do we move?" Ando-gu also understood the severity of the matter. If the Mo clan did not have Shiyu or the powerful mysterious expert, the two of them could proceed with their plans against the Mo clan slowly so that they could minimize their losses. However, with Shiyu's appearance and the existence of the mysterious expert, the Mo clan's overall strength had increased by a lot. If they kept dragging out their plans, the Mo clan would become even more challenging to deal with once Shiyu became a god. They might not be their opponent even if they worked together. As a result, they had to carry out their plan to deal with the Mo clan earlier. The sooner, the better. The ancestor of the Lu family thought silently for a while and said, "Before we move, we have to make sufficient preparations to stop anyone from the Mo clan escaping. We also need to prevent from leaking the existence of God King Duanmu's jade. We have to have formations that can envelop a range of 10,000 kilometers to do that, and it'll need to be able to endure attacks from gods. Our Dong'an province doesn't possess something like that. I need to go to the royal city. The royal city is quite distant. It'll take up quite some time for the journey. Lu Fei, please head off immediately. If you lack divine crystals, we can provide you with some," said Ando-gu. With a crisp crack in the 7th hall of the Mo clan, Jian Chen and Shen Jian finally removed the formation on the box after an entire day. As the formations shattered, the origin energy that had gathered came to a halt and gradually calmed down. The godhood elders and patriarch in the Mo clan only believed that Shinjian had stopped cultivating, so they did not think too much about it. This was because when godhood experts absorbed origin energy to cultivate, they would indeed create such a disturbance. When their god ancestor absorbed origin energy to cultivate, he would create an even greater disturbance. Jian Chen and Shen Jian both stared at the box in their hands eagerly. The item stored inside was the treasure of the Lu family. It was something that a clan with a god could regard as treasure, so its value was evident. Is it a cultivation method? Battle skill? Or perhaps an artifact? Or maybe something else that's priceless? At that moment, both Jian Chen and Shen Jian began to guess what it was. Jian Chen slowly removed the lid under their eager gazes. The moment the box was opened, a beam of dazzling light immediately emerged. A mysterious presence appeared as well, something that could pique the interest of any person. It permeated the surroundings. Fortunately, Jian Chen and Shun Jian had been prepared before opening the box. They had cast down formations and barriers in the surroundings, isolating the presence from the outside world. Within the box sat an inky green piece of ancient jade. It glimmered with light. The jade was oddly shaped, making it possible to tell with a single glance that it was incomplete. Is this the treasure of the Lu family? Surprise appeared in Jian Chen and Shun Jian's eyes when they saw the piece of jade. Jian Chen could not help but extend his hand to pick it up, but as soon as he touched it, the piece of jade immediately emitted a shocking pulse that was enough to shake his soul. He jerked violently. The presence was just too powerful and shocking. Even with Jian Chen's current strength, he felt as insignificant as an ant before the presence. This piece of jade is not simple. Jian Chen became stern. He stared at the piece of jade for a while, before passing it to Shun Jian. Touching the jade, Shun Jian also jerked like Jian Chen. Surprise filled his face. He went through the same thing as Jian Chen. There's a sliver of the power of a God King's soul in there. Suddenly, Fairy Hao Yu's voice rang out. The power of a God King's soul? Jian Chen and Shun Jian immediately became stunned when they heard that. A God King clearly left this piece of jade behind. The power of his soul he left within the jade has already fused with the jade, causing it to change. It's only a pity that the jade's incomplete, said Fairy Hao Yu. Fairy Hao Yu, do you know what this piece of jade is for? Jian Chen asked modestly. There were still many things he did not understand about the saint's world, while Fairy Hao Yu in his eyes was a knowledgeable senior who knew many things more than him. After a moment of thought, Fairy Hao Yu said slowly, in the saint's world, there are indeed a few people who store a sliver of their power or a sliver of the power from their souls in objects, which they gift to their juniors. It represents their status and can also be a form of protection. Once an important junior comes across danger, the senior's power will appear and assist the junior in overcoming the problem. Lastly, many experts will cover where they cultivate with many formations, basically making it impenetrable. It would be so tough that even they themselves would struggle to break through it. Hence, to allow any juniors to enter with ease, they'll leave behind their presence, or a sliver of the power from their souls in an object. As a result, the juniors can easily pass through the formations. Not only has the power of the God King's soul completely fused with the jade in your hand, but the jade is incomplete as well. If I've guessed correctly, the jade was probably a crucial item to pass through some formation, while the God King who left behind this in the past probably met quite a horrible end. Otherwise, he would not have left the power of his soul in a shattered piece of jade. Jian Chen and Shun Jian both beamed with joy when they heard that. They asked, Fairy Hao Yu, are you saying that this piece of jade is the key to a God King's dwelling? That's extremely likely the case. However, even if it's the key to a God King's dwelling, the jade you possess is incomplete, and you don't know where the God King's dwelling is either. As a result, the jade is basically useless to you. You have to collect all the pieces of the jade and know the precise location of the dwelling to make use of it, said Fairy Hao Yu. Chapter 1684. The source of divine crystals. Jian Chen became greatly disappointed after hearing Fairy Hao Yu's explanation. He had originally thought that the treasure of the Lu family was something impressive, where even if it were useless to him, it would be worth quite a lot, allowing him to obtain a large number of divine crystals if he sold it. He could use them as resources to support Shun Jian's breakthroughs. However, he had never thought that the so-called treasure of the Lu family was just a piece of incomplete jade. Even though the piece of jade was likely to be the key to a God King's dwelling, it would be useless if he did not assemble the entire piece of jade. Moreover, even if he did assemble the entire piece, he still needed to know the precise location of the God King's dwelling, or it would still be useless. As a result, the piece of jade was equivalent to a useless piece of rock to Jian Chen. Even if he auctioned it off, he would not be able to get a good price for it. Esteemed Senior Shun Jian, the patriarch and elder Shiyu have come to visit. At this moment, a guard's voice rang out from outside politely. Shun Jian immediately removed the surrounding formations and barriers. Jian Chen also dismissed his thoughts and quickly put the piece of jade back into the box and placed it back into his space ring. Only after doing all that did Xin Jian and Jian Chen make their way out, personally inviting the patriarch and elder Shiyu into the hall. They were extremely polite. After all, the two of them were in the Mo clan's territory. The clan had been kind enough already to get a guard to announce the patriarch's visit. May I ask if Brother Xinjian's finding this place comfortable? If there are any places you are discontent with, please bring it up to me directly. There's no need to be polite. I'll get people to fix the matter immediately. The patriarch clasped his hands at Xinjian and Jian Chen with a smile. He did not put up the haughty airs of a patriarch. Thank you for your warm hospitality, patriarch. We are extremely satisfied with what you have provided us with, Xinjian replied politely. The four of them conversed a little, asking about each other's well-beings. Afterwards, the patriarch took out a long, wooden box. Layers of formations protected the box, and it would pulse with powerful energy from time to time. Ignoring the fact that the box must have been holding something extraordinary, just the box itself was crafted from an extremely precious type of wood. It was invaluable. This is a gift I've specially prepared for Brother Jianchen. I wonder if you like it. The patriarch smiled as he passed the wooden box to Jianchen. Patriarch, this? Jianchen hesitated as he stared at the wooden box that was pushed into his hands. Although he was unable to see what was inside the box due to the protective formations, he felt that the matter was rather inappropriate. After all, he had only come to the Mo clan a few days ago and was allowed to freeload off them. He even received a gift now. Although he knew that the patriarch was trying to rope in Xinjian and him, he did not plan on staying at the Mo clan for very long. Seeing Jian Chen's hesitation, the patriarch removed the formations on the box and directly shoved it into Jian Chen's hands. He smiled. Brother Jian Chen, you should open it and have a look. After a moment of hesitance, Jian Chen made up his mind and opened the box firmly. Immediately, a hazy, white glow emerged. A flying sword sat in there silently. It's the flying snow sword from Maple Leaf Pavilion. Jian Chen's eyes narrowed. The patriarch chuckled. Maple Leaf Pavilion is a business that belongs to the city lord of Maple Leaf City, while the city lord and I are old friends. After learning that this sword caught Brother Jian Chen's eye, I bought it as a gift for you. I hope you like it. Jian Chen remained calm. He slowly closed the lid of the box and returned the sword to the patriarch. He said, Patriarch, this gift is just too valuable. I cannot accept it. Thank you, Patriarch. I'll accept this gift for Jian Chen then. However, right after Jian Chen finished talking, Xinjian grabbed the box in his stead. Jian Chen was stunned. He looked toward Xinjian, and he appeared rather troubled. With the gift accepted, the patriarch was in a fantastic mood. He conversed with Jian Chen and Xinjian for a very long time before leaving with Shiyu. Although the patriarch had never mentioned the fact that he wanted to rope in Jian Chen and Xinjian, they all understood what was going on. They just chose not to talk about it. From the patriarch, Jian Chen and Xinjian also gained a better understanding of the surrounding region, in particular, the strength of the four organizations in the surrounding region. They learned how many godhood elders each organization possessed and learned all about a few of them. Even with regards to the Dong'an province, the two of them gained a rough understanding. It was just not very detailed. Jian Chen, take the flying snow sword for now. Don't worry about owing people favors. The matter at hand is to increase our strength and deal with the ancestor of the Liu family afterward. We can use the Liu family's territory to return the kindness of the Mo clan, said Xinjian. Once they killed the ancestor of the Liu family would obviously no longer be able to hold their ground against the four other organizations. With Xinjian and Jian Chen's assistance, the Mo clan could take over the Liu family's territory all too easily. Jian Chen hesitated for a while before accepting the flying snow sword in the end. He could not use the twin swords, so his strength was drastically affected. Now that he had the flying snow sword, his battle prowess would return to his peak once again. The Liu family also control a divine crystal mine. The Liu family mines quite a lot of divine crystals from it every year. Xinjian, Cultivate with the low-grade divine crystals you have on you right now. I'll go out and get some more for you. Once you reach mid-deity, we can move against the Lu family immediately, Jianchen said to Shenjian as a heavy killing intent bubbled in his voice. Shenjian stared at Jianchen strangely. He smiled slightly. Jianchen, you plan on doing something with the Lu family's divine crystal mine? The corner of Jianchen's lips curled slightly, revealing a smile with hidden intentions. He said, all the wealth of the Lu family belongs to us anyway once the ancestor of the Lu family dies. I'm just collecting part of it early. Then be careful. Don't forget about the hidden problem on you. Don't worry. Unless a god personally comes, no one can force me to such a state. The ancestor of the Lu family should not have recovered so quickly from his wounds, and even if he has, he'll become heavily injured if he manages to avoid death once I use my profound sword qi. How will he still have the power to pursue me? Jianchen sighed gently after reaching this point. It's just a pity that we almost killed the ancestor of the Lu family last time but failed. The Dark Cloud Mountains was within the Lu family's territory. As a thick layer of dark clouds often covered them, they had been named accordingly. Although the mountains seemed extremely ordinary from the outside, without anything special apart from its origin energy being 2 or 3 times denser, the Lu family would send a large number of workers to this location. Basically, a quarter of the Lu family's forces would be gathered here, and there would even be godhood elders who patrolled the region. Clearly, they placed great importance on this place. This was because there was a divine crystal mine in the depths of the mountains. Even though it was just a small mine for low-grade divine crystals, it was still a massive piece of property to the Lu family, so the defenses in the Dark Cloud Mountains were really tight. There was a gaping chasm in the center of the Dark Cloud Mountains, while the bottom of the chasm was flat. Various stone huts stood in there in an orderly pattern, with many bare-chested cultivators who only wore shorts moving around between them. It added some liveliness to the dark chasm. These people were all miners that the Lu family had arranged to collect divine crystals. They were miners, but most of them were only at sainthood, with saint emperors making up the majority of them. Even some early origin realm miners would appear from time to time. Chapter 1685. High-grade divine crystals. Aside from the miners, there were many other cultivators clad in armor scattered across the bottom of the chasm. They were all emotionless as they paid attention to the surroundings coldly. They gave off a presence that was extremely powerful in the eyes of the miners. These people clad in armor were all of the origin realm, and there were quite a few of them at reciprocity. They were the guards that the Lu family had stationed here, and they equated to a quarter of the Lu family's entire force. Only a few of them patrolled the surroundings. Most of them just stood in particular spots without moving at all like statues. Upon closer inspection, it was quite evident that locations where they stood all connected up into an extremely powerful killing formation. The killing formation would obviously be extremely powerful with so many origin realm experts taking part. Even if deities personally arrived, they would struggle to benefit from the situation at all. There was a 100-meter-tall stone tower between the stone huts at the bottom of the chasm. Not only was the tower the tallest structure there, but it also pulsed with a powerful energy. Clearly, it was not just any old stone tower. Currently, there was a hawk-nosed old man at the top of the stone tower. He was small and short, skinny and bony. He looked down from above, and his rather thin lips would curl into an evil smile from time to time, making him seem sly. Being the supervisor here really is an easy job. I can make so much every year. Even the godhood elders in the clan don't receive as much in offerings. I only have to remain as a supervisor for 1,000 years. No, not even 1,000 years. Just 100 years is enough for me to make a huge amount of money, thought the old man. He liked this place a lot. This location was like heaven to him. Of course, he did not take a liking to the environment, but to the fact that this was a divine crystal mine. As the supervisor, he held the most power here. He controlled everything. All the divine crystals the miners excavated had to be handed up to him, and then he would hand it up to the Lu family. Apart from that, Some miners would even secretly give him a small portion of the divine crystals that they were supposed to hand up to get on his good side and enjoy some minimal benefits, allowing him to do nothing and still make a considerable amount of money. It's just a pity that only a tiny portion of the divine crystals offered up to me by those miners are actually mine. I have to give the rest to the elders, the old man sighed. He felt some unwillingness as well as some helplessness. The Liu family was extremely strict about the supervisor's management of the mine, forbidding them from taking divine crystals for themselves. He was bold enough to do this because he had the support of a few elders in the Liu family. As a result, even if the patriarch of the Liu family found out about this, he could only turn a blind eye out of respect for the elders. At this moment, disturbances suddenly emerged among the miners below. At the same time, an extremely pure origin energy appeared. The people below, including a few of the patrolling guards, quickly gathered together. They all discussed a certain topic with great interest and shock. The old man's face turned icy. He directly flew down from the stone tower and said coldly and condescendingly, "What are you discussing? Disperse. Go do what you need to do." A few of the guards immediately showed displeasure in their eyes after hearing the old man's words. The old man was not powerful. He was only at late reciprocity, while some of the guards had already reached peak reciprocity. As a result, some of the guards did not really care about the old man. However, since he had the support of godhood elders, they did not dare to offend him either. It's high-grade divine crystals. High-grade divine crystals, I say. Supervisor, someone has excavated high-grade divine crystals. A few miners ran over excitedly. As expected, one of them carried a fist-sized divine crystal in their hands. It glimmered like a gemstone and radiated with extremely pure origin energy. The old man was stunned. He stared at the fist-sized divine crystal in a daze, and disbelief filled his face. The Dark Cloud Mountains were only a small, low-grade divine crystal mine. Usually, only low-grade divine crystals could be excavated from a mine like this. If they were lucky, they would come across mid-grade divine crystals from time to time. It was impossible for high-grade divine crystals to appear in a low-grade divine crystal mine like this. It's really a high-grade divine crystal? The old man said with his mouth agape. He had never seen a high-grade divine crystal in his life. Even for mid-grade divine crystals, he had only seen a thumb-sized piece in his life, yet the high-grade divine crystal before him was actually the size of a fist. Units of divine crystals were around the size of a thumb, 1 centimeter long, wide, and deep. If the fist-sized divine crystal was divided into units, it would be several dozen pieces or even 100 divine crystals. The old man snatched away the high-grade divine crystal, and greed flashed through his eyes. However, it vanished very quickly. He knew extremely well that he might have been able to try to get his hands on the divine crystal if it was low grade, but he definitely could not touch high-grade divine crystals. Otherwise, even the elders supporting him would not be able to protect him anymore. I have to return to the clan immediately and report this matter to the patriarch. High-grade divine crystals have actually appeared in the Dark Cloud Mountains. This is definitely not just a low-grade divine crystal mine. The old man was in extremely high spirits. If he reported this, he would receive great merit for it. However, at this moment, an extremely terrifying pulse of energy emerged. The pitch-black sky suddenly lit up from the bottom of the chasm, becoming red in a single moment. Flames roared, blotting out the sun and the sky, enveloping all the mountains. The temperature in the surroundings suddenly began to climb as well. It's the defensive formations. Oh no, someone is attacking. Everyone prepare for battle. An extremely vigorous voice rang out from the depths of the chasm basically in the same moment the formation had been activated. The captain of the guards had reacted as soon as possible and had quickly mobilized his men. Chapter 1686. Robbery. Seeing how stern the captain of the guards had become, the old man snickered disdainfully. He sneered, "Captain Feng, is there any need to be so nervous? Don't forget that the formations here were personally cast down by the ancestor. Even deities would struggle to get through them. However, before the old man had finished his words, a deafening boom resounded from the skies. The formation that had just been activated shattered loudly, failing to last even a few seconds. Now, both the old man and the various Origin Realm guards stared at the shattered formation in shock. Their hearts began to churn. Even deities would struggle to smash through the defensive formation. Even if there were several deities, it would be able to hold up for a while, yet it had shattered instantly. A god! At this moment, similar thoughts suddenly appeared in the heads of many people. According to their understanding, only gods could smash through the defensive formations so easily. At this moment, pure white snow drifted down from the sky, quickly turning into a blizzard. Snow flew everywhere while the cold wind whistled. At that moment, the depths of the chasm seemed to have become a cavern of ice, gaining a layer of thick snow in the blink of an eye. There was a sudden and crisp resonance of sword in the sky filled with snow. A strand of sharp and powerful sword chi tore through the snow-ridden sky as it shone with dazzling white light, shooting downwards. The depths of the chasm began to tremble. All the huts erected there began to hover, spinning around the stone tower. It rapidly became a defensive formation. Boom! The sword chi directly struck the formation, immediately erupting with a deafening sound. The base of the chasm shook violently. Powerful ripples of energy splayed out, creating huge cracks across the rock face. The falling rocks kicked up a lot of dust. The formation created from the stone huts and tower managed to block the sword chi, but a tiny crack appeared on all the huts. As for the tower, its top layer had directly been reduced to nothingness. All the miners and guards paled at this scene. Their hearts trembled. Ever since they began guarding this place, they had come across many people who had tried to get their hands on the divine crystals here, but they had never seen such a powerful opponent. The formation that they took pride in, or even regarded as something that could block anything, was actually so fragile. It could not even withstand a single attack. "Get into the Heaven's Dipper formation," Captain Fong called out. Immediately, the guards who stood in particular places like statues began to move together. A series of complicated inscriptions appeared beneath their feet. They all linked together, forming a powerful formation instantly. "I hope the Heaven's Dipper formation can last a little longer." Captain Fong had already placed all his hopes on the Heaven's Dipper formation. The Heaven's Dipper formation was their last line of defense. If it collapsed as well, they would no longer possess any power to fend off godhood experts. Back in the Liu family, the patriarch of the clan was currently sitting in the discussion hall, holding a secret meeting with the upper echelon of the clan. Ever since he learned that the Mo clan had stolen their treasure, the Liu family had entered a state of high vigilance. Some members of the upper echelon had even begun to silently gather their strength, only waiting for the ancestors' orders before they killed their way towards the Mo clan. Of course, to prevent the Mo clan from finding out, everything was carried out secretly. Even a few of the more prestigious people in the clan had no idea about these silent changes. They could only sense that the atmosphere of the clan had suddenly become rather heavy, like the calm before a storm. However, many people believed that the atmosphere originated from Liu Fei's betrayal. At this moment, the expression of the patriarch who was hosting the meeting changed. With a flip of his hand, a golden jade talisman appeared in his hand. It had already shattered. The patriarch's face suddenly changed when he saw the talisman. He immediately said through a communication technique, "Something urgent has happened at the Dark Cloud Mountains. They're requesting the highest level of assistance possible. Elders, may I ask who is willing to go to the Dark Cloud Mountains?" The Liu family had 9 majestic halls that represented 9 godhood elders. However, one of the halls had been reduced to ruins now, leaving only 8 standing. All the elders cultivated in their respective halls. When they received the patriarch's message, all their eyes snapped open. After a series of discussions, 3 elders flew out together, rushing towards the Dark Cloud Mountains. The snow in the Dark Cloud Mountains fell heavier and heavier, enough to cause a whiteout. A second strand of sword chi shone resplendently as it fell with lightning speed, striking the stone tower below. This strand of sword chi was even more powerful than the one before. Boom! The stone tower trembled violently. This time, half of it had been reduced to dust, while close to a third of the huts around it had disintegrated as well. Although the remaining two-thirds of the huts remained, they were covered by web-like cracks now. Swish! Soon afterwards, a third strand of sword chi suddenly appeared. It struck the stone tower like a bolt of lightning through the sky full of snow. Again, the third strand of sword chi was even more powerful than the second. The formation that was known to be able to resist the attacks from multiple deities finally collapsed after taking on the three sword chi. The remaining tower and huts all turned to dust. However, the third sword chi had not dispersed yet. It still possessed some power, so it continued to hurtle towards the Heaven's Dipper formation below without slowing down at all. With a boom, all the Origin Realm experts operating the formation trembled violently. Violent energy wreaked havoc in the depths of the chasm, causing huge cracks to appear in the surrounding rock face. Some parts had even collapsed. The mountains shook and the earth cracked, making it seem like the entire world was trembling. The end of the world seemed to have come. Sir, this is the territory of the Lu family. Are you unafraid of the wrath of our ancestor, since you'll be offending the Lu family just for some mere low-grade divine crystals? The old man paled and called out toward the sky. It was impossible for deities to smash through the two formations so quickly. Only gods possessed that power. He just could not understand why a god, someone on par with the ancestor of his clan, would personally come to rob their low-grade divine crystal mine. Although high-grade divine crystals had appeared here, indicating that the mine did not just possess low-grade divine crystals, he refused to believe that the attacking god had learned about this before they had come here. This was because the high-grade divine crystals had just been excavated. It was impossible for the news to be leaked so quickly. The response he received was an extremely bright light. A flying sword was hidden within the light, while the power from the laws of the sword revolved around the sword. It seemed to be locked against the Heaven's Dipper formation with devastating might. This attack was clearly much more powerful than any of the sword chi before, so the Heaven's Dipper formation composed of so many Origin Realm experts was as fragile as paper before it. The formation directly collapsed, while the various Origin Realm experts all spurted blood from their mouths, paling in a single moment. They became haggard and half of them directly fainted. The inscriptions beneath them all crackled, directly exploding, leaving huge craters in the ground. The snow stopped falling. A dazzling ball of white light flickered high in the sky, gradually descending into the chasm. The white light was not truly light but something condensed from the extremely sharp glow of a sword. A slender figure was barely visible through the light. He was like a sun, illuminating the dark depths of the chasm with his layer of snow-white light. The bottom of the chasm fell silent at that moment. Whether it was the miners or the guards who had been stationed there by the Lu family, they all stared at the figure that slowly descended in fear. No one dared to say a single thing. None of them chose to run because there was only one way out at the bottom of the chasm, and this way out had been blocked by the god before them. To no one's surprise, the person who had come to rob the mine was Jianchen. "Hand over all your divine crystals or die," Jianchen said coldly. He protected himself with the light from his laws of the sword, which concealed his appearance and figure. Chapter 1687. Collection. As Jianchen's voice rang out, the entire chasm became dead silent. Some people were even stunned after hearing his words. In their eyes, Jianchen was a mighty god. He stood at the same level as the ancestors of the four organizations that reigned over the region. He would be prestigious to the point where it would be extremely difficult for them, who were at the Origin Realm at most, to even catch a glance of him. Yet, the person who was equivalent to a supreme expert that they were revering had actually come personally to rob the divine crystal mine. He did not care for his identity as a god at all. His actions immediately stunned many people. "Esteemed senior, this mine belongs to the Lu family. The ancestor of our Lu family places great importance on this mine. At the same time, this is only a low-grade mine. Only low-grade divine crystals can be found here, with mid-grade divine crystals being extremely rare, so with senior's greatness, These divine crystals must not be enough to satisfy you, the old man bowed and said carefully. At the same time, he paid close attention to Jian Chen's reaction. His forehead had already become covered in a layer of sweat after saying that. Although the Lu family possessed a god, they had never seen him before. The senior before him was the first god they had ever seen. It was just that Jian Chen's appearance was obscured by the light around him, so no one was able to tell who this god was. The old man brought up the ancestor of the Lu family in hopes of deterring and scaring this senior somewhat. After all, the Lu family did place great importance on the mine. Without any exaggeration, the mine in the dark cloud mountains was the lifeblood of the Lu family. They could not afford to lose it. Jian Chen's gaze turned icy. He gently swung the flying snow sword in his hand. With a flash, a silver-white strand of sword chi seemed to have fused with the snow, shooting towards the old man with lightning speed. The old man was only at reciprocity, making him a decent expert among the guards. However, he was as insignificant as an ant before Jian Chen, who could even fight gods. He could not resist at all. As a matter of fact, he could not even react to a casual attack from Jian Chen. The old man did not realize it at all. He only felt a heart-wrenching pain from his right arm all of a sudden, causing him to cry out miserably and uncontrollably. Blood spurted out like a fountain from his right shoulder. His entire arm had been cleaved off by the sword chi. This is only a warning. Don't mention what you said earlier to me ever again, Jian Chen said icily. There was a heavy killing intent in his eyes, warning all the people present that he did not fear the ancestor of the Lu family or fear offending them. Jian Chen's ruthless act of chopping off the old man's arm immediately caused the expressions of all the guards present to change. Despite that, no one dared to speak out. Senior, please spare me. I'll hand over all the divine crystals I've mined. Please spare us, Senior. Please spare my insignificant life. There are over 5,000 low-grade divine crystals in this space ring. I planned on giving it to the supervisor initially, but I'll offer all of them up to you now. The miners that were responsible for excavating the divine crystals handed over their space rings without any hesitation at all. Although they had mined quite a few of them, the divine crystals did not belong to them. They had to hand it all up, so it was all the same to them whether they gave the divine crystals to the Lu family or someone else. They would not lose anything. Over 1,000 miners removed their space rings and placed them before Jian Chen courteously. None of them tried to keep a single divine crystal to themselves, and there were even a few miners who took pleasure in the situation. Most of them were people who had offended the Lu family, or they were brought here for other reasons to do the hard work. They naturally had no good opinion of the Lu family. They felt delighted now that the Lu family was going to suffer. As the miners handed up their space rings, a huge pile formed before Jian Chen very soon. Every single space ring possessed the same design, and they all held quite a lot of divine crystals. The old man from the Lu family and the captain of the guards watched everything unfold with pale faces. Even though they were furious inside, they dared not to voice it at all, much less exhibit it on their faces. In their hearts, they only wished that the ancestor would learn what was happening here and arrive sooner. Very soon, all the miners handed up their space rings. Jian Chen nodded in satisfaction as he looked at the pile of space rings. His robbery of the Lu family had been much more successful than he had originally thought it would be. Jian Chen looked at the old man and sneered, "Looks like you're in charge here. You must have quite a lot of divine crystals on you, so hand over your space ring as well." The old man's face immediately became extremely ugly. After a moment of hesitance, he clenched his teeth and removed his space ring from his finger reluctantly. Even though his life savings were stored inside there, nothing was more important than his own life. With a wave of his hand, the large pile of space rings before him suddenly vanished. He took them all away. He could already tell that many of the miners had been trapped here by the Lu family to excavate divine crystals. Even the space rings they used had been specially handed out by the Lu family, so he would obviously keep the Lu family from getting their space rings back. Senior, a piece of high-grade divine crystal was just excavated earlier. For a mine where a high-grade divine crystal can appear, It's definitely not low grade. It'll be mid-grade or even high grade. At this moment, someone said loudly from within the crowd of miners. He was one of the people that the Liu family had imprisoned here, so his hatred towards the Liu family had already reached fuming levels. He was tempted to create some more trouble for the Liu family. Oh, a mid-grade divine crystal mine? Or maybe even a high-grade mine? Jian Chen's eyes lit up. He stared at the miner and asked, "What's your name?" The miner immediately beamed when Jian Chen asked for his name. He completely ignored the old man's murderous glare and replied politely, "Senior, I am Yi Xing. I accidentally offended a clansman of the Liu family 500 years ago, so they captured me and sent me here to excavate divine crystals for them." You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.